VRChat, the next frontier. These are the experiences from Gunters' universe. His continuing mission? To seek out and connect with VR devs and passionate enthusiasts. To discuss theories, beliefs, and rhetoric of all kind. And to boldly go where no show has ever gone before.
Hello everybody, welcome to Gunters' Universe. I'm your host Gunter, and this is show number 6. On tonight's show we have some great guests. We have, towards my left, eVRydayVR, aka D, who
Hi everyone.
you don't know, he has a great YouTube channel, does great reviews, and also develops, and right now he's been working with Team Metatron. We also have Dave Styles, an enthusiast from LA who loves VR, and we just heard that you're part of the paparazzi.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm a professional photographer.
Yeah, cool. And also to my left, don't know how I missed him, Reverend Kyle in Hulk form. Hulking it out. How are you doing?
It's all good, man. You can skip over me. It's fine.
Yeah.
No big deal. I'm good.
You're one of the regulars, you know.
Yeah, people know me. A man who needs no introduction. That's right.
Don't make Hulk angry. You wouldn't like him when he's angry.
Nope. And we also have Immersive Gamer 83. How are you doing?
Really well, thank you. Thank you very much for having me today. I'm actually a bit nervous, and I don't even know why. I'm in my living room, you know, but I'm kind of here with all you guys, and I'm kind of a bit nervous. But it's all good, though.
Yeah, many folks make that comment, and I myself am actually very nervous right now, especially in the kind of the beginning part, getting everybody's name correct and whatnot. But I do want to say that, I found you, you're a YouTuber, you play GTA, Elder Scrolls Online, and a whole bunch more stuff, so I thought I'd grab you and, have a little chat with you.
Appreciate that. Thanks, man.
And to my right, we have Nate 8. Me and Nate are very good friends and go back to the early days of VR, which is basically 2 years ago. And we both helped found Team Metatron, and Nate really is the whipcracker over there and keeps things rolling as the project manager. How you doing, Nate?
Well, I'm doing great. I see. The thing is, I had my name on 5 jam entries, and I guess I didn't crack the whip hard enough because we only submitted one of them, and that was because D did all the work on it. So I don't know if I'm cracking whips just right, but yeah.
You knew those turtles would not all survive.
Yeah, oh yeah. It feels great to be back. I pulled my DK1 out just for this, and yeah, it's good to see everybody.
Yeah. I'm very glad to have you back on the show. It's been since the old show, Virtually Incorrect, since we were hanging out. So that was great times. And yeah, so we're going to talk a few things tonight. One of the big things is mobile game jam. We've got a ton of submissions and all kinds of goodness, and a bunch of you folks have tried those things or have something in the running. And also we're going to talk about the Vive Jam. D was able to attend that and is going to share his experience. And then afterwards we'll talk a little bit about injection drivers and GTA.
Hey, Gunter, can I ask you a question here? Who's this little impish character here in the middle of the table?
Oh, I forgot to introduce him. Sorry, you're so small. This is RealityCheckVR. He came on the show last week. And actually, the week before that, 2 weeks ago, he discovered VRChat and discovered this show happening and streamed or recorded a little video and put it up on YouTube, which I discovered a few days later. And it was great to see you discover and your commentary. I don't think you were like, is this school or something? All those good things. Like City Master Chief was a thrill for you and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
Check.
Hey man, how you doing? Great to be here again. I have a little bit of neck tracking issues going on here, but we can still manage with it. It's still going to work out, no problem. But yeah, as you said, since 2 weeks ago when I discovered VRChat, I've had the experience of dancing with Master Chief and high-fiving the Iron Giant, which was another great experience. Other than chatting with all of you folks. Yeah, Matt was there. And yeah, I just had a great time, I guess, doing all those things. So I don't know. I guess I'm excited to see tonight's episode, and I'll be here getting a nice bird's eye view, I guess, from a nice IPD perspective.
Worm's eye view, ant's eye view.
Yeah, that's right.
You have the best seat in the house, that's for sure.
That's right. Oh, the Hulk looks awesome right here. That's just sweet. And
He's got to look like building size to you.
yeah, right.
You're giving me the idea of this whole table here should be the audience seating, and all the audience people should be really small. And they run around and look at it while we're
Oh, that would be cool.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
All right, and we could just like throw little blocks at each other. Wait, what? Okay.
Just at me.
No. Okay. Stay on topic.
Yeah, Reality Check, you have a great YouTube channel, so people go take a look at that.
Appreciate
I'm
it.
sub to it. Go check it out. It's cool.
Thank you.
Okay,
And I appreciate
and
you for this avatar you gave me, this one. So this one, if you're looking at it, came from Gunters' list.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me about that. There, a lot of people that come in here, guests, new folks, that never been here before. They have there's a couple standard avatars to choose in VRChat, such as the one that Nate is wearing right now. He's all business, along with Immersive Gamer. They're both apparently Smiths. And Smiths are cool, but some of the other ones, not so cool. And
I have a standard avatar.
what
though.
I've done... Oh, you have one of the standard avatars as well. So we have some male avatars, some female-looking avatars for you guys to choose from. But something like the Hulk or this little guy in front of me, which I don't know what it's from, you can grab basically those avatars, plug them into VRChat. The avatars are just a link, and you just plop them right in here in VRChat, and you'll have that cool avatar. If you visit guntersuniverse.com, you will find a link to free avatars there. And if it's all confusing, just message me at one of the million messaging places that I have listed there on the site, and I'll get you set up.
And if it's not confusing, you can make your own avatars. Like, I really wanted to throw one of the models that we have for one of the entries in, but I ran out of time. Wormslayer was going to do it for me, but he didn't have the SDK handy. So, but you can do whatever you want in here.
Yeah, that's what I love about it for sure.
Yes.
Custom
In
avatars,
fact,
big
like
deal.
Converge has just added custom avatars as well, but they have like this
Saw that.
list of 10 restrictions. But in VRChat, there are 0 restrictions. You can do pretty much anything, even if it horribly breaks the game.
Yep.
Even like Dark Akuma's giant cock.
Different kind of cock, but yeah.
No.
Chicken. I think it's a
If somebody provides me with a cock avatar, I'll do it the whole show.
Nice. I really want to get like a
I'm
Fallout. I really want to get like the Fallout power armor going on.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, get on that, create stuff. I mean, you can definitely find some of these. There's some links to other resources where you can find tons of great copyrighted, models that have been thrown out there, and why not be your favorite superhero or what other game characters they have there. It's a lot of fun. And it's
We
not
lost
too
our little
difficult.
man.
Yeah, he'll probably be back. So, Ortas, if you could throw up that link, that's just the well, let's do Cute Crusher from Overdrive, that page there. And you know what? You're going to have to go get the direct YouTube video now since the browser thing isn't working. So he'll work on that. Who has seen Cute Crusher around the table? Anybody?
I'm aware of it.
I thought it looked amazing.
I've not.
Okay, so it's a cute little game. It's a whack-a-mole kind of game with you want to whack the fox and not whack the rabbits sort of thing. I remember.
Yeah, I heard he was going to have chickens in it as well, but he was afraid that people would be whacking the cock as well.
Right. I would have put it in. That'd be funny. Yeah, so we'll take a look at that in just a moment. And a few others that will be going down is Guns and Dragons by Gerald and Pulsar Arena from Justin. And yeah, I kind of wanted to show the jam post, so I gave proper credit to the developers, but because I didn't write all those notes down. But unfortunately, I think that's going to be a little too much for Ortas to pull off both of those. What do you think, Ortas? think Ortask working very hard.
Yeah, that's the sound of furious copy pasting. Here we go.
Sweet.
Listen to all that walking.
Loading.
Kinda
Looks
jealous
like
of this
ETA.
logo.
ETA.
Ortask, by the way, you can get the embed version of a video and have it full screen. Okay, so I guarantee you that's standard Unity assets.
I'm digging the music.
$20 off the store.
I like how their instructions are all just, this is good and this is bad.
Yeah.
I feel like this game needed a different font.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
That's like the basic, I don't know,
it doesn't
Yeah,
seem to
I
fit
don't
the
know.
theming.
the default
There was
font.
another
font
game in the
Unity.
jam that I thought, man, you just chose just the wrong font.
Don't bonk the rabbit.
Now, presumably here, you're pushing a button or tapping on the touchpad, and that swings the hammer, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
or often-
what about this game is innovative? What about it needs VR to happen?
Yeah, there's no head tracking being used here. That's kind of weird.
This would do actually really well as like an iPhone game or something.
Yeah, this should just be it should really be just a mobile game.
Yeah. Just tap on the screen to whack the thing. And
I guess
think,
though for go ahead.
I think he put this. He's actually the same guy, if I'm not mistaken, who did the Captain Jack whatever game that Rev wants to do the voice for. That looks frickin' amazing.
That does look good.
So I'm thinking, like, I called him a monster for whacking all these little animals. I think this is just like, it's a little throwaway, you know, like, he did what we did in that he said, well, I don't know for sure that the really hard one's going to work out, so I'm going to put a couple of easy ones in just for the heck of it.
Right.
And, okay, sure, you're not going to win if that wins a frickin' prize, though. I mean...
I think that would be like 10 times better if there was like, say, 6 of them tubes, and you had like a 180 degree where you could just look around, and then like,
Totally.
Exactly.
That would be hard.
they popped out of different ones, and then you had to just smash each one, and sometimes there'd be multiple, but like, you know, some were rabbits and some, you know, some were foxes.
Suddenly,
I mean, that's how whack-a-mole really is. There's usually 3 of them in front of you when you're at a fair. And
Yeah.
right, and if they're all around you like that, all of a sudden it's a real VR game. You know, that's one thing.
But here's the thing you have to
do
consider.
on a monitor.
Here's the thing you have to consider is the fact that the whole point of this jam is to get our share store, Oculus Gear VR store, to be full instead of quite empty as it is now. And giving them games like this, we need games like this. Even if they aren't necessarily innovative, it's filling a void, a genre of game that doesn't quite exist yet. And you know that it's going to be there eventually. Might as well be from a jam game.
And I don't think it's necessarily like a bad thing, like if it doesn't fully use VR. Like people play games on virtual desktop. People like to be able to embed familiar experiences in a VR environment that surrounds them, that provides theming and environment for the game. Even if it's not providing the gameplay for the game, it's still it's still adding something to be have that farm all around you.
Yeah, that was my thinking at first was, hey, it's a game to play in the gear and there's scale, and and it's
full 3D
like your title, Rev, and I think those are really good things to have in the store.
And I think it's a million times better than what I could do. I couldn't pull off something like that, so respect to the guy.
Well, again, I guarantee you that's like $50 worth of art assets off the asset store. So that's not a very difficult game to make. I think it's important to like address these games as a gamer, as a person who loves VR and wants it to succeed, and totally appreciate that argument of, this is more content. What are you complaining about? But then also we need to put on our vicious judge hats at least a little bit and say, okay, cool game, but you are not winning a prize.
Yeah.
Well, okay, and you know what, though? No, it doesn't have to be just to win the prize. He was just getting it out there.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to get some major publicity just by being part of this. And I think a lot of people took advantage of that situation. But we are not prepared to filter yet. We don't have enough to filter. I mean, we just need to saturate this new market with everything, including the fluff and the garbage, then become scrutinous. At least that's my opinion.
That's why Oculus this was the most savvy thing they've ever done, I think, to really bait the hook like they did, to get all this stuff out there.
And they've done it before with the first VR Jam, of course.
Yeah, but that was tiny prize money compared to this.
Oh yeah, this is much, much larger.
As a product that works pretty darn well.
I was going to say, as a pure consumer though, I mean, someone that just purchases and uses content, for me, for someone using VR for the first time, I want them to experience the best fucking thing ever, rather than that's their first experience might put them off future things, So, I mean, I really do respect what you're saying there, but if that's someone's first VR experience, man,
yeah.
I don't know,
that's why the Oculus Store has to have curation, and it will. Like, these are going to have star ratings, they're going to have comments from people, and this one is going to have on that page, like, people rating it, 2 stars and putting a comment that this doesn't really take advantage of head tracking, and hopefully they're going to have, they're going to read that stuff, and I think it's fine, because at the end of the day, a great comparison, I think, is, say, Wikipedia. Wikipedia has millions of articles, and about 90% of them are terrible, but we still use it because the ones that aren't terrible, it can be pretty great. So
yeah.
Here's another one. It's called Guns and Dragons. This is by Gerald.
Game. Yeah.
I can read more about
He's got no head, and I love that. I think that's like the smartest mechanic I've seen yet.
You
want to talk about innovation? It's brilliant.
Why is it brilliant?
Yeah. Because there's no head. See, that's the problem. A lot of times VR games, you end up seeing the head or having the camera in the wrong spot just doesn't work. By him being headless, you get the full body just right behind the avatar experience without having the head be occluding
in the way.
It's almost third person.
It's
like
third person.
Yeah.
2.2 person. Yeah. I don't know what to call it.
I don't know. I have to try it.
It's interesting because it
seems like it's behind somebody like a third person, but he doesn't have a head. And that's what I was feeling kind of a little weird. But if it was more first person, and then you looked around, you wouldn't have that head issue, but you'd still look down and have a body. And
I mean, it's almost first person because it's so close.
Yeah, I think this game has a lot of potential. I'm not really sure about the story, the plot, like what's actually happening here, but no, I think there's a lot of potential here.
And this is another asset store game. That's the kind of dev that Gerald is. He's a grinder. He's going to be making these games and making enough money to make the next one forever. And I'm so glad that he's around because he's a good dev. He understands the problems, the challenges. That said, the combat in this one looks boring as fuck right now. And if he can fix that, then this is a great game. But just standing there pushing a button.
I love your like reverse compliment or your it's like a I don't even know how to explain it. It's like, man, all he's doing is grinding, but we need that. I love that.
Yeah, I've known Gerald since the Meant to Be Seen days. Like we had a couple of public forum fights, and I never didn't respect the guy. He's putting out some cool content.
I think
And
I
I
first
totally
ran
agree
into
with
him
you.
with
Just more of it's from Zero Transform. I made games like Proton Pulse.
Another one,
and
another one.
Shut up,
V,
Justin.
and I thought
We're
it
talking.
was important to keep the spirit of what makes
Yeah, this
game
is,
jams
well,
so incredible.
he'll talk about it,
from
but
short
Pulsar
amounts of
Arena.
time and rapid development.
Yeah, but while he's yakking,
It's an
Justin or
incredible
Nate, I do agree with you. I
process
think we do need
that
grinders,
involves
especially this early.
vision,
But that same comment a year from now is going to have a very, very different connotation.
Comes some of the most brilliant ideas that I've seen in the gaming
Tab,
industry.
can you skip around? This one's kind of long to where we start seeing gameplay.
I think it's like the last 3 seconds is when he stops talking.
It's a rhythm-based tournament in space. Thanks, Hortas.
Hit enter, Justin. Come on.
Justin always has good UI. I'm always
typing with your face.
Let's do this.
He always does have the greatest music, though.
yeah.
Yeah, he is collaborating with some amazing musicians. That's the damn true.
And he is the king of low expense particle effects.
Oh, he really is. He's the particle king.
He has. He has shown me so many things, and I'm just like, son of a gun, I can't believe that this works. And it always does.
For anyone who doesn't know, he's also done Proton Pulse and Vanguard Valkyrie, now Vanguard V. He's
yeah, I know that one.
a legendary developer.
And I'll throw out there too, he actually contributed to Ends Well, my jam game, very, very slightly. I was trying to find a good third-person camera, and I had like 4 or 5 I was playing with, and I asked him his opinion, and he threw out some suggestions and helped me pick the one that I actually picked. So yeah, he kind of
Awesome.
Yeah, he's very, very helpful, very available. He is a true credit to the dev community.
Can all these games be played now?
Yep.
That's
yeah.
a good question. Are they? Yeah, I thought that.
100% that. Go ahead, Red.
Well, his game was actually one of the ones that got screwed up by challenge posts, but it is out there now in the cosmetics somewhere.
Hey, Ortap, can you crank the volume down a bit?
Help me target these blocks.
I still don't know what the hell's going on here, but I want to play it.
yeah. I'm thinking exactly same.
It's like 360 Pong type of thing going on.
Are those voiceovers from the same person who was one of the Vanguard V vocalists?
Yeah.
Thanks, Hortas. When we run the next videos, let's try bringing the volume down a bit more. Just enough so we can talk over it, sort of thing.
I don't think I have any control.
Oh, right, we're throwing them up that way. Actually, we do, and I think I can do it from this end, which would actually be pretty nice. Go ahead and throw up the next video. What do we have? Turret Defender, Brian Bullard.
Well, let's talk a bit though about the multiplayer aspect of that. One thing
There's
that
multiplayer aspect.
Yeah, it's a tournament game.
Tell me about it. What do you know?
I'm not even sure what that means exactly, but it's very much so a competitive player versus player like sport that he's trying to create here.
I feel like the video did an extremely poor job of conveying that.
Yeah. We didn't watch the whole thing, but I watched it earlier and didn't get that either.
At the very end, you see the split screen going on, but yeah, it's not very descriptive.
I'm still kind of none the wiser, to be honest, but it looks pretty cool.
Yeah,
and
definitely has a cool factor.
That's all Justin's art or art that he commissioned from an artist. You know, this is all he's doing this from the ground up, and I think this is a contender, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell the game is about exactly, but I think the approach of saying, let's like put one guy on the bottom of this ring or whatever it is, and another guy, like, when you look up, your opponent is above you, I think, is the point. And you're like, you can do something to those spheres around you. You know, it might be shit. I don't know, but it looks like it could be amazing too.
And we know his track record, so it'd be hard to believe it isn't. Any other thoughts on that game? Reality check. Any thoughts from you, little man?
No, I just caught the last end of it, but no, like I said, it looked like you guys were talking about the particle effects that were going on, which looked awesome for the Gear VR. I mean, it's got a lot going for it, but it did seem a little bit confusing as far as actual video was made.
I mean, it's a lot going on, and that's you know, that's exciting. Like some of these games, you're just like walking around trying to find things to shoot. I mean, this is like, you know, a buffet of like, you know, stuff going on around you, and it's like immersive, and it seems like it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it definitely looks massive. I can't imagine being in the center of all of that. It's just a lot going on. It looks rad. Let's move on. There's actually like how many we're gonna look at? 20?
300.
Well, yeah, I can't hit them all. Well, let's go ahead. We'll do them all tonight. So yeah, this
marathon, huh?
Watch all the videos.
Yeah.
Bruce it.
Turret Defender. Defend your ship at all costs. Brian
Bilardo, right?
Yeah, great use of cockpit.
Bilardo, yep.
No, this looks cool, man. This looks fucking cool.
Yeah, it does.
It does look cool.
But it looks better in VR.
You're like a turret on a giant ship. You're a guy in this turret, and you have to defend your spaceship from these
I like
things
that
flying
concept.
around it.
It's like you always play the ship in these games. You never play the turret. Do you like get to upgrade your turret?
That's the one thing I don't think it has, but I think it should have. Maybe he'll be able to do that down the road.
Hold on. Killing me.
Did you just start a
The music
music?
from this game sounds similar to Gunters' show.
I'll explain why it fucked up. So
Live
when
shows,
I want
people.
to change. Yeah, thanks for joining. Get out. Yeah. So I have some music mapped to a key, you know, that sort of thing. And I went to lower the volume via command, and one of the keys
With
that
an
got put
HMV
into
on your
that-
face, mine.
What's that?
With a rift on your face, so you can't see the keyboard.
Well, yeah, I hit the right thing. It's just what I was writing had that key in it. It's not like a control something key. It's, you know, it's
Right, so like
it's sort of dumb.
The little fire the missile like flip cover thing wouldn't have even helped you on that one.
Nope. It's how things got configured, and now things are getting more complicated. They need to be reworked, and it's built and baked into this room sort of stuff. Okay, where were we? Please don't leave. Let's continue. Or tasks. Can you pull up that Defender game and maybe skip halfway through or so? And then I was able to
skip.
Oh, that's right. You'd have to go to the YouTube page and click the share, and then there's a link there that you can put a timestamp on. Not a big deal. I'd rather not. If that's like, okay, no problem, I do it, then you can do that. Or if it's like, what, then just play it again.
Now, somebody who's actually watched the entire video for that Turret Defender game, though, is there anything else going on there, or is it just
Really
that
there
basic
isn't.
concept?
Yeah.
You know, this is a jam. You're not going to get the full game. These are pretty much all pitches for full games.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
Interactive demos.
Yep.
It reminds me of that, last week we saw that demo with the submarine where they had kind of a cooperative thing going on. It had that same kind of feel with the 3D depth, but no multiplayer.
I wonder what the scale's like in there, man. I wonder if it actually feels like you're in a turret, you know?
Right, because I guess what you got more
Cool,
field of view
that's
with the Gear VR than you do the DK2, so. And a clearer picture, supposedly.
It definitely has a clear picture.
Oh
Now,
boy,
and
see, I can only imagine.
And I like how you can see your space station down in the bottom part when you look down, so I think that kind of helps ground you, give you a ground orientation, which you don't usually have in a space shooter.
All of that being said, though, this, your HUD thing is stuck to your face. I kind of disagree with that choice.
Is it stuck to your face, or is there some lag here?
It's very clearly
You
can't, when you look around, this view changes.
I mean, it's following your face, but that was also the case in, Vox Machina, where they had it follow your face, but there was lag built in so that it wasn't stuck to your face. So,
yeah,
I don't know which they're doing here. I don't know which they're doing here.
It's kind of like
Vox
the turret
Machina did
giant
it
helmet
good.
that you're wearing.
But yeah, in this I don't think you can look behind and see the cockpit and whatnot.
Okay, that would be problematic.
And Fox had like a keyhole where you could push it left and right, but after that keyhole range, you would be able to look around.
I'm gonna ask him now to experiment with a build where you're sitting inside this turret and you can look all around and see the full environment, but you can only move it, and very slowly too, by thumbsticking or something.
For the gear, I think that's what we're dealing with here is sort of a limitation there, the tapping the side of it where you're getting your button there.
Right.
And
I think they don't want to require a gamepad, which is the thing.
Yep.
Well, you could do a similar thing with the trackpad, maybe.
I mean, they could just literally use the same system as Vox Machina here and have it follow your vision in a keyhole, have some lag built in so it doesn't feel like it's stuck to your face, and I think it would be all right.
Yeah, you really want to be able to look around that cockpit to feel immersed, or look up through the window like I think Vox Machina had. But one thing in there, I was wanting more out of the guns, right? Like it was like pew 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 pew, and I want something a lot more.
Maybe multiple weapons going on.
Oh, definitely.
I saw rockets. That was rockets was doing it for me, but the
Are those heat-seeking?
Not sure.
All in all, I think it was a pretty good sequel to Project Taurus.
Hey, I know that voice.
Holotape.
It's
Hi.
Taurus evolved.
Hello.
Hey, man.
Sorry to interrupt.
How did GTA go?
It was good. Jason, in his most selfish moment, jumped out of a helicopter that we had a missile locked onto, but it ended up being really selfless because the missile hit him and it saved all of us.
Hilarious.
What a jerk. Being selfless. Well, cool. I'm glad you're here. All right, let's see. What's up next? We're
I am
you
Dee
guys
from
know this
EVRydayVR,
one.
and this is VR Speedreader. VR Speedreader was created in collaboration with Metatron VR, particularly with Nate 8, who was responsible for the original idea.
All right.
VR Speedreader uses virtual reality to completely fill your field of vision with the text that you're reading, while using rapid serial visual It's going to get past the boring intro soon
to
enough.
quickly move the text in front of you so that you can read it without moving your eyes. And this is just a demonstration of this technology on 3 sample texts. You can choose which sample text you want to read by looking at it in the menu. There's Sherlock Holmes, Jonathan Swift, and Alice in Wonderland. I'm going to start with this one. I'm just going to tap on it. It moves into the distance and is surrounded by black. This is used to hide the loading delay by using asynchronous time warp.
I still don't understand what that means.
Now we're going to see the page appear with the text on it, and then it will split into 2 copies of the same page. And these 2 copies are used to hide the fact that you are transitioning from one line to the next by making that transition completely transparent so that it appears as though you're always moving to the right. Now the instructions appear above at the beginning. At any time, you can change the rate at which you're reading by moving your head slightly to the left to slow down. That makes the red ring appear, or to the right to speed up, which makes the green ring appear. You can also tap the touchpad at any time to bring up the pause menu, which I will show you in a moment. So we're going to go ahead and speed up. The green ring appears. We start out at a standstill and we go faster.
I will let you watch the text for a moment so that you can get some impression of how this works.
You guys should see what this looks like in DK1. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I was going to comment that it's a little hard to see this way because of the screen being so far back. You get better ID on your browser.
Yeah. We don't need to watch the rest. This is fine.
Oh, we'll just leave it going. So tell us about it, D.
So just as what you see there, it's a thing that fills your entire field of view with the text that you're reading. And the point of doing that is that you get a lot of context from the surrounding text that you wouldn't normally have while reading a book. It's kind of like having your face buried in a newspaper, and you have all that surrounding text, and you really fill it with all that context, and you can use that to kind of anticipate what's upcoming and kind of refer back to the structure of the text that you read recently. And I'm hopefully going to, and I can imagine this like being used to like read something in bed. You just lie back, you don't have to move your head, and the text just passes in front of your eyes at a comfortable rate. It's intended to minimize eye movement and to otherwise facilitate speed reading by suppressing sub-vocalization and repression, regression, which is where you move backwards in the text and reread things you already read.
Is there an option to zoom in on the actual text itself? I know it seems quite small there, and it would be bigger actually in VR. But can you scale? Can you scale the text font?
No, but that is the one feature everybody wants, and I will. I definitely want to have that option. Right now, it's just kind of a comfortable size for people with normal vision, but I can certainly add that option.
With head tracking, couldn't you just like lean in and the words would get bigger?
Yeah, I mean with positional tracking you could. It wouldn't exactly be comfortable since you'd have to be like leaning forward the whole time you're reading. But you can certainly use it for fine adjustments, kind of.
And the big thing is I guess the Gear VR doesn't actually have the
positional
tracking. So yeah, you can't really quite do it like you can in the DK2.
So yeah, well, if I made a DK, I'm going to make a DK2 port at some point, and it would enable you to do that.
Look, I think this is something my missus would really like this, and like, she'd actually use it. But like, her eyesight is pretty shit though, so she might need a slightly bigger font to actually use it. But it's something that I think she'd pay for.
The system automatically spends a I'm a ways away from something that's marketable. But I think it could be I think this could be something I could use, like, because there are a lot of things I have to read, but I'm a terribly slow reader, and to be able to get through things faster and take advantage of like having it, like just being able to like relax and watch the text go by and read it without having to like awkwardly hold up the book or the monitor or the phone or whatever while I'm reading everything, I think could make things just easier to get through.
And it's like a tool like Spritz that I think a lot of us might be familiar with, which displays one word at a time at a rate that you adjust.
Yep. It's very like Spritz, and the main difference is that it's adding all this context around the one word. Rather than just having the one word by itself. So Spritz is like really sweet if you want to read email on your smartwatch or something, some ridiculously small, narrow field of view display like that. Whereas this is kind of the opposite. It's like, what if instead of having a ridiculously narrow field of view, you had your entire field of view? How could you use that to help your reading? And the idea is, yeah, we can use it to bring in all this additional context to try and provide more signals and cues of what's going on in the surrounding text.
And he said something fantastic when we were developing this. How Spritz, everybody uses Spritz, and they, like, I can easily read 700 words per minute with Spritz. And everybody sees it, and they're like, wow, that's amazing. And then they never open it or put any text into it again because it's just, there's something about it. He said that it was sneaky because it hides the word that you're about to read and the word that you just read, and it only presents you with the one thing, like it's hiding something from you. And that's an element of why other speed reading things haven't really, like, people use them, I guess, but it feels like they never really caught on, despite the fact that you can totally read at upwards of 500 words per minute, which is super fast.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'd love to read 500 words per minute.
Yeah,
I guess there's two audiences that I see, the person that just wants to digest and speed read, but somebody like me, I actually suffer from dyslexia, and so something like Spritz showing me one word at a time is kind of important for me not to get hung up and stuff on things. Yeah.
D, you haven't even heard this because you've been in Austin. I talked to Ben, and his coworker at Virtual Reality Ventures, Katie, is dyslexic. Okay? He put it on her face, and she told me today that it almost completely cured her dyslexia in a way.
Like our application?
Yes.
Whoa.
So is this a cured while reading in with the app, or now when she reads normally, paper, whatever, she's cured there too?
I assume that it's going to be the same old problem of, she described it as like words sort of reorganizing themselves, and dyslexics read more on the shape of a word than the individual letters. So I can't imagine that. Like,
thing.
Right, but like if your normal reading speed as a dyslexic is like 20 or 50 or something, and you can get into this and you're being fed the words serially, and you're being forced to focus on all the various things that this is doing. If you can get up to 200 or 300 or something, which is, it feels slow to a lot of people in this, I think, that's going to be a huge deal.
I'm mildly surprised that it worked at all, because I would think that because all the words are still there, I would think they would still kind of be reading things out of order and so on, but apparently just kind of the motion and the highlighting was enough to guide them along.
We need to do some serious testing of that, because if that's true, and if nobody else in the world wants anything to do with this app, but
it'd still be a great treatment.
It could change people's lives if that is a thing that happens for most dyslexics.
Yeah, I'm really interested in helping with this as basically a tester, as somebody that
and I think Spritz provides a lot of the same would probably provide similar benefits for those people, but like I just feel like I said, people feel more comfortable with this because they want the rest of the text to be there. They don't want it hidden. It feels like it feels like you're driving down the road with blinders on. It's like you don't know exactly what's coming up ahead of you, and you feel constantly surprised by everything that's showing up, and there's no way to stop and say, wait, what was that? That didn't make any sense. So
I think that's important, but I also bigger fonts and more white space would be good. People with dyslexic actually get jumbled up with all the words there. Maybe a black background with white.
I believe there's actually a font that's designed for dyslexics. Am I right?
I did not know that.
There is. You can look it up, and I think if I just kind of slotted it in, it could actually help.
Yeah, totally. But I know dyslexic people read better on black contrast. Some white paper's really kind of challenging at times.
D and I both want to use this thing too, and we talked about the Minecraft approach. I still consider that a touchstone for any VR dev. If you think you know the perfect way to configure your application, fuck you. Okay? Because there's going to be somebody out there who disagrees with you and wants to use it a different way.
You could also call it the Titans of Space approach, since it very similarly has just way tons of options. I think it's really important to have default options that work for most people, because most people aren't going to screw with them. But like somewhere, you just got to have that advanced menu, or at least an INI file or something, so that people can really just get in and change everything they could possibly ever want to change.
Yeah, I love the idea of seeing the text that you can refer back to, because there's a lot of times, you want to do that. With dyslexia people, that sometimes is a problem, because they will keep going back, and that's like they just need to be pushed through it. They'll get basically the idea of most of it. They might not capture a little bit or might not understand a word. But I do like the idea of being able to rewind a line or 5 lines.
Yeah.
That to me is huge because it might be important for me to go do that.
Yeah.
And
it's like a safety buffer. Like people they feel more comfortable when they have that opportunity to go back, even if they never actually go back.
Right.
Whereas with Spritz, it's like you're going forward. We don't care what you think, and you're never going to see where you've been. Sorry.
Yeah, with that, unless you stop it and go pull it up normally. I think I could. I wonder if you could, though. Just my talking about what I would like to see, I guess, is having that text around is really cool. I like that, but not so much. Not like a wall of text, but really showing you the couple sentences behind you and forward, and they kind of fade out. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like a range there.
So on an earlier version, we kind of blurred out the surrounding words. I thought that was a little too aggressive, but what we could do is kind of have the immediately surrounding text be sharp, and then kind of the outer text towards the edges gets more blurred and maybe darkened or something like that to kind of.
And again, that's all just stuff that if it's easy enough to implement, you can just dump it in the menu and let people decide for themselves.
Yeah, and it'd be great to get feedback from people on what options they end up picking. Maybe everyone will have their own interesting choices that work for them.
Yeah. And I should note as well that Zarin, the Battleships VR dev, who has been working with Metatron lately too, he independently of the team joined the jam with a VR reader app, which is kind of the complete opposite of this approach. If you are in any way offended by this concept or you're a person who just wants to sit in a cozy little room and read something that is a skeuomorphic book that you're holding in your hand, kind of, go check out his VR reader, because that's the
So this is the highly experimental approach, and
exactly.
VR reader is the virtual reading a book approach in your room, which is a lot of people just find that more comfortable and nice. So.
Yep.
So basically, you can get your text, put it in the VR reader, and it'll turn it into a book that's on your lap or something.
That's right.
Yep.
That's kind of neat.
It even makes it a book on the bookshelf that you kind of take down and open up.
That's cool. All right, let's move on to the next video, unless there's any other things to say.
I think we lost Kyle. That's a thing to say.
Yeah, it looks like he's over there.
Hang in there, buddy.
Kyle, do you know you're lost? Have you been trying to talk to us this whole time?
Kyle's a busy man, emailing Palmer back and forth, I'm sure, right now.
Hey, there he is. There he is.
Hey, sorry about that. I had to take a phone call from somebody very important.
No problem. We assumed it was Palmer.
No comment.
Yeah.
Who was responsible for the original
So, Ortaz, let's pull up the Warp video from Dark Akuma.
Warp.
It's a 3D puzzle platformer using
So while you're pulling that up, what did I miss?
The app that two of the people sitting at this table have their name on.
It's fine. It's fine.
So sorry. I'm sure they were wonderful.
It's fine. Nate's name is on everything.
It was a VR speed reader, similar to Spritz, but gives you all the context around it.
The nice thing about that app is that I'm not going to have to keep that copy of Catcher in the Rye in my back pocket anymore. Nobody.
You could do that. You could do that. Any reader app though, like just on your phone. Unless you like to have it filling up your field of view.
No,
I do.
No killing people, Kyle.
Warp. Here comes the portal.
What's the idea? So Dark Akuma is a veteran to VRChat. He designed my previous Hunter S. Thompson-esque avatar and did a lot of experiments here in VRChat. So this is his entry, and what does it say?
And now he's created a portal to Mars.
Exactly. Puzzle platformer using windows into alternate worlds.
Sorry, windows, not portals.
Yeah, not portal. We don't say portals here.
Yes. This has nothing to do with portal and isn't portal, and why are you talking about portal? I don't know.
It's a Stargate. Oh wait, can't do that either.
The amazing thing about this title is that he designed this without having a Gear VR.
Yeah.
Yes. I felt so sorry for him because I didn't think he would be able to do that.
I tried testing as much as I could for him. He was sending me APKs left and right, and it just a series of just a comedy of errors. I'm glad he finally got it working.
Yes. Like I thought when I first tried it, it was just a black screen, and yeah, it was. I'm so glad that he got the help that he needed to get it tested and working.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm very pleased for him.
All right, moving on. Let's hit up Captain Clark Adventures.
Oh yeah.
From our man Overdrive.
I'm actually excited about this one. I want to check it out.
Yeah, me too.
This was one of the first ones I checked out. It's amazing.
Yeah, we looked at it last week here. Let's take another look.
So originally, the goal was that I was going to be the voice of Captain Clark for this game. But
really? That was just a joke?
Yeah. No, I'm serious. But he just ran out of time, and we just couldn't coordinate. So maybe a future version, I will be
Wait,
Captain
so
Clark.
is there voice acting in it, or not right now?
It's done by like a computer, like a synthesized voice.
I see.
Give us your Captain Clark voice, Kyle.
Yeah, do it.
Okay, all right,
do it.
All right, ready? Hello, I'm Captain Clark.
Wow.
At least put an R in there. Come on now.
I was expecting something
Hello,
husky.
Captain Clark R.
Captain Clark. Uh-huh.
I thought you were going to drop it like Captain
So Kyle, you've played this demo. Talk a little bit about like the locomotion, the teleport mechanic, and how does that feel?
Somebody
for you?
finally did it right.
Well, yeah, I mean, it really worked. I was pleased with it. I was actually kind of amazed at how. Oh, here's the voiceover. You can hear it. Our ship's crew has been decimated. Yeah, it's like really robotic. But no, it was really good. You look over at an arrow, an obvious arrow pointing to where you need to go, and you tap, and off you go. And it doesn't feel like, holy crap, how did I get over here? It makes sense.
Nice.
It works.
So it does the fade thing? Fade out, fade out, fade in?
It's just enough. It works just enough, yeah. And then he's got kind of like a cutscene in the middle, like a little splash to show you're going somewhere else.
It looks gorgeous.
It's like running at high frame rate. The only thing, if I had to be constructively critical about it, I wish the water moved. But I know why it doesn't. But I wish it did.
I mean, this kind of thing, I find it so exciting because I can imagine someone like doing this. I can imagine them doing this kind of Myst style, where they just have a set of 360 photos or a set of light fields or something, and you just have little clickable arrows that take you from one location to another. And you could have pre-rendered scenes, you could have real-world scenes making up your game. You can do anything you want.
So I wouldn't die of thirst. Maybe if I pour the coconut
See, and
milk on
what makes me angry about this is two of Metatron's games use that mechanic. And we've had it for a while, and Overdrive's going to get complete credit for it. That's what we get for keeping stuff under our head, I guess.
First on the market.
Virtual work environments too. You can like have a actual tutorial of how to do things at a desk job, and test somebody, make sure they know exactly what they're doing, and shit. Like you said, using light fields and those kind of things, you can actually bring people into the real actual places they're working at and make sure they really know things. And that's that's a business application right there that I think is useful.
Absolutely. And like light fields, like they have impracticalities when you try and cover a large space with them, but there's no reason you can't just have 5 or 10 locations that they can teleport between with some arrows. It would be fine.
All right. Yeah.
This game plus light fields would be amazing.
Right. Now, it should be noted here that I'm pretty confident that 100% of these assets are another, like, expensive asset store thing.
Right.
But they have no business running at 60 FPS on the Gear VR.
This is some crazy-ass optimization going on here. Like, you can tell that everything's been optimized to look good from one angle, which is the angle you're looking at it from, which is how they were managing to do this at all. And it's all baked lighting and all that stuff. So that's how this is happening. But it's still like, I mean, they designed the game to make the graphics pretty, and they're they're kind of defining what are the limits of the graphics you can do on Gear VR right now, and this is it.
Well, and for years, that's the way games were. They were designed to, you weren't going to go over there, so we don't have to worry about what it looks like. And only where
like
you're
Myth. Like Myth was all pre-rendered.
Yep.
Immersive,
So
do you have
I
a
look
Gear
forward
VR?
to throwing my voice onto that game, hopefully.
Say that again, sorry, man.
Do you have a Gear VR yourself?
I don't. I thought that if I owned a Note 4 or an S6 already, then it would be a no-brainer. But for me, that money's paying for my CV1, you know. So
Absolutely.
I didn't invest.
Yeah, that was a hard decision.
I only got it because I needed a new phone anyway, so.
Right. If those Amazon Fire phones weren't on sale all the time, I would have gotten it one.
Next demo.
Yeah, Captain Clark is winning a prize, by the way.
I don't
Tell us
understand
the
what's
capture
going
tech
on.
he's using too.
Is this like a 360 capture?
Experience?
I think this is an experience. I don't remember seeing this in the game category.
This reminds me a lot of there's a little Venice segment in the Gear VR 360 videos, the Samsung 360 videos.
So you can look around though, yeah?
That's the question.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, that's a good.
Right,
Yeah, we know Cubicle Ninjas. They're good.
Yes, we do.
So it is going to be a thing that...
So this scene looks to be rendered. But I
See,
think they're using a skybox with a 360 photo, but they've got this little
They're
model in
doing
the
something
foreground.
cool here, is what they're doing.
Oh yeah, they're using a little bit of that, what looks like the match move typography with the pre-baked 3D rendered scenes. So I mean, it's a lot of things going on.
Could be.
Nate, are you sure these just aren't assets that you can buy in the asset store?
This one might be very, very...
Don't let his brawny appearance fool you. The Lion of Venice is book smart too.
This is actually educational. I like it.
Oh wait, educational, turn it off.
You're like, shit, I'm learning.
Wait a second.
Fuck education.
Yep, we're moving
Yeah,
on.
we're all
moving
on.
on.
But
that's pretty good.
That's what we think it is.
Are we gonna watch Tactira?
But if Cubicle Ninjas are doing what we think they could be doing there, that's a strong contender in the experience category. And I wouldn't put it past them either.
There's some sharp guys. Yeah, definitely.
The returning champ.
That sounds good, man. The music's decent.
So I have to admit, when I first saw this, I went, oh man, he's just upped the ante a little bit with CS and taking it, or Darknet, and turned it into a Gear VR game. But honestly, I've played this several times and it's very fun. It kind of had that Dune or Emperor Battle for Dune type of feel to it. Just really a lot of fun to play. Yeah, I would gladly lose to this game. I would be happy to say that I lost to this game.
What? Everything about that looks fucking awesome.
Right.
Well, and he's the king of the glow, you know? He's got that glow figured out.
Okay, now
Like
imagine
everything from now on will have glow. That comes from him. It's just like, oh, what is this? It's just glow.
Yep. So imagine my horror when, after we had already conceptualized this tabletop-based game in VR for the Jam, I see like concept art or something for this, and I'm like, oh shit, McNeil's building the same game we are.
How similar is it in terms of the mechanics?
Not at all. We talked before, and we're like, okay, we're actually making totally different games here, but you know, you don't go to war against E. McNeil. you're gonna lose.
Beat him.
Literally, yeah.
Hey, quick question: is anybody here planning on going to the SVVR here in Silicon Valley meetup?
Oh yeah, I'll be there.
See, I'm jealous. I won't be able to go. I was going to say they've got $100 off the conference tickets if you give them a pass online if you haven't already bought your ticket.
I was almost
drive the RV over.
I'll just throw it out there.
All complex simple.
Just in case anybody plans on going, the promo code online at the expo.com, the vrexpo.com, is 6 cents at SVVR 2015. Saves you $100. So just thought I'd share that.
So,
yep.
So Tactera is amazing and is going to win a prize.
6 cents. SIXENSE.
They're having a thing on AltSpace.
This. Gunter, tell us what we're looking at here, because we're missing it.
Oh, this one's awesome.
No.
No.
Neos.
Yep. This is a Sightline, right?
Fructus is the developer on this one.
Yeah.
Constructed.
Has anybody actually tried it yet, though?
No.
I've tried it.
No. Teaser.
How was it?
It was actually really, really cool. It was it gives you this really nice like powers of 10, like seeing all kinds of different scales of different objects and being able to compare them using VR's ability to get a good sense of scale. So and you learn about a lot of kind of and there are a lot of surprises in it, I think, regarding kind of the relative size of things that you wouldn't expect, like for example that you can have suns that are 10 times or 100 times bigger than other suns, and the size you can have galaxies or galaxy clusters that are like millions of times larger than the Milky Way, and down at the microscopic level, like there are these like micro animals that have like 15,000 cells and just all these little things, and it's just really cool to watch them all and compare them all, and it's also just a visually really, really splendid experience. I think it'll definitely be a contender in the contest.
Cool, I'll have to check it out tomorrow then. I'll add it to my list.
Fructus gets education in a way that I think very few people do. I think he's a really amazing person to be kind of spearheading the charge toward never compromising on anything and saying, how can we make education, how can we completely rethink it from the ground up, blast it apart, and make it how we learn rather than the way we have done things just because of forums and books and etc.
I've worked a lot with Fructus, and I've also worked a lot in education. My dissertation work was in education, and like pretty much we've known for decades that the things we do in school are wrong, but there's just they're too expensive to reform. But Fructus knows what the right way to learn is, and he's working on building stuff to help people to explore things like social construction, explore things like explore all these ways of learning that have been established to be effective, like the project-based learning and the social construction that are just not being explored in school. So I hope it's going to be great to have those things in VR.
Awesome.
And River's going to put him there too. That's a Rothenberg joint now. So I think that one's going to happen.
Is this an entry? Or is this like, I remember this from the DK2.
Yeah, what are we looking at?
I don't know.
I just looked at it. They're doing real-time Unity renders with light fields. It says.
This is, I believe this is JavaScript, right?
That's what I would call a masterpiece. He's got 4 eyes and 2 mouths. It's art.
It's called
By
light
the
field
way,
synthesis and real-time rendering.
What?
Did it have anything to do with the jam?
This doesn't look like light field synthesis.
That's what they say.
Huh, that's interesting.
I don't know what it is.
DK2.
Tomasz Marianchik is Phyrexius' real name, yeah.
He's very Czech.
Although he prefers to go by Phyrexius, you can stick with that.
I would too.
There's no way down from here.
He's amazing.
What it was doing.
I didn't realize this had narration.
Is this close?
No.
Oh.
Climb higher. Don't
Oh. That sounds cool.
This is, Java definitely was involved in this, so this is probably a shiny fish thing, and it's about not freezing to death on a mountain, I think.
I like the concept, how you have to have these two goals playing off against each other constantly.
Right.
I like the crayon art, you know, it looks like something a kid drew.
Yeah. It's a really nice art style.
Absolutely. And it seems to be a trend recently, too. I've seen several titles use this art style recently.
Right, so you're hallucinating as you're freezing to death, and you see shit that isn't there. That's really cool, Java.
Serac is cares backwards.
That's true.
The devil and the angel. You see that? Yep.
Yep.
That means there's something going on there.
That could be really cool.
Give me a great idea for a game. I'll just put a trailer out that shows like a black screen, but then I'll put the credits that say all kinds of wild, crazy shit. People will think it's
Gillette, the VR game.
Right. Wait a second.
We do. There's an issue with the next one. It's not a YouTube source, so it doesn't have a URL that will play. So
Blair used Vimeo.
He used Vimeo.
Loser.
Special guy. This will make
Well,
everybody watch
I can talk about thought crimes a little bit if we're not going to show the
Yeah.
video. So, anyway, the gist of it is that it's kind of along the same lines as Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego or Papers, Please. You're like a government agent who is trying to like track down people who are committing crimes against the state, and you have to gather clues at your computer in your government computer room and use it to identify them and I guess get them arrested. I don't know all the details, but that's my impression.
Is it like thought crimes as well? So people thinking about doing crimes and catching them before they actually do the crimes as well. I think.
Yeah.
It sounds really cool. Sounds really cool, man.
That 1942. Yeah.
84.
84.
1942 is a different thing entirely.
That's a whole different year entirely.
Yeah, I played it right away, and I think I was one of the first people to throw their name into the high score list. And I enjoyed it. I really found it interesting. You skim through videos, look for a person, find them in your list, and then send a warrant out for them. And then based on your actions, there are reactions from this like syndicate group Yeah, I mean, ultimately it's a good start to something that's, I mean, obviously it's a much bigger concept and this is just a taste of it. So I'd really like to see, this is one of those games where we're not going to get the full version until after they develop it. This is
Blair
just
gets
a
his money,
demo of
yeah,
what
money,
it could
yeah.
be. Right.
I wonder, I mean, is this going to be a separate game, or is it going to be worked into Technolust?
Totally separate from what I hear.
Huh, okay.
And yeah, that was, it's going to win a prize. My only question about Thought Crimes, though, is has he done anything, have they, Mark Schramm is also working on that, another amazing dev, have they done anything truly innovative with Thought Crimes? I mean, the concept is pretty cool. It's a synthesis of a bunch of different things that we've never really seen together.
I think it's innovative insofar as it's figuring out how to do that kind of gameplay in a VR environment where you're surrounding the player with the information, and it's relatively straightforward, but it's still it's not obvious that there is a way to do that.
Right, and for anybody who doesn't understand, the reason I'm being an asshole about that is because this jam was specifically set out to be judged according to fun and experience. That's half your points, but an entire other half needs to be innovation in VR mechanics.
Well, let me address that, Nate, because I think maybe, you know, the idea of innovation is relative, because when I look at a game like, you know, the Thought Crimes, I think to myself, wow, they were able to pull off something that I used to have to play with a keyboard and mouse with look and tap. And, you know, I immediately, and I guess this is just me being, you know, picky, every game that included some sort of controller needed, to me, immediately lose innovation points, because I could have done amazing stuff if I had a controller, but I didn't want to use a controller because I thought it lost out on the innovation of that tap, look, gaze, and tap, look mechanism that, you know, that the Gear VR specifically needs to be able to be used without having to spend another $80 on a stupid controller that nobody likes.
Not to mention the setup time.
Right, exactly, and the battery, another thing to charge. It's just a nuisance. So when I look at anything that uses just the touchpad already gets at least a 1 or a 2 in innovation in terms of points for me.
It's a good point.
And I mean, let me put it this way. I can imagine a less innovative version of Thought Crimes. I can imagine if they put up a screen up there, if they just like had a rectangle and it was like it had a 2D game on it, that was like a traditional like Papers, Please type experience, and like there was just a black void all around you, and you had to use your gamepad to play the game. Like that would be completely uninnovative. They were doing extra innovation to give you that 360 environment that's incorporated into the gameplay, and to move it to this new UI and this new hardware interface. So it's not at all trivial.
Can you play that game on a monitor?
Yes. They're working on a DK2 version right now. Oh, I'm sorry, on a monitor.
On the monitor.
Yeah, but
with mouse look, I guess.
Yeah.
But it would be like
Nate, give us the example of what you think is the perfectly innovative, only can be played in VR game or title or experience.
Okay, there are a lot of examples. You know, the one that we actually tried to do that is going to be, I think, a little mini game that we released for free as one of the first things that like comes from the fallout of our failed main like game title. And it's kind of hard to explain, but it's really innovative to use. You've got your touchpad on the side of your head, right? And you can look around. Imagine a sort of sphere around you that you can extend in space nearer and farther away. And wherever you are looking at that sphere, define a point in 3D space. And you can now use this point with the touchpad to sort of draw a spline in space that you kind of couldn't do with anything other than like a 3D mouse, maybe. that's a thing that cannot exist in something that doesn't have head look and a trackpad. And it's something that we've never really seen before because we only now have the tools to come up with that. You know, merely figuring out the UI elements of things that are fairly obvious, like multiple monitors or something in a space, that's innovative, yes, and you know, you don't deserve 0 points for that. But bringing something that is non-obvious and totally new to the table, I feel like that's really why Oculus made this jam, you know, and my example there is not even a great one. I think there are probably some really cool things lurking in this jam.
I both agree and disagree with you. I agree insofar as I believe that there are things more innovative than that, and those things should get more innovation points than that one gets. On the other hand, I don't think innovation was the primary motivation of the jam. I can only speculate what the motivation was, but I think it was really to fill up their store. And you know, they want to push the state of the art, but I think they really just, their main goal was they're launching the Gear VR consumer version pretty soon. This Christmas was when John Carmack said, and that's going to be marketed far and wide. And they want a full store.
I shouldn't have said primary. That's definitely the main reason that they did this. And there's no guarantee that you get anything really useful that is completely blue sky left field innovative in the entire jam. But if it happens, you know, if somebody comes to this jam with a concept or control mechanic or something that we've never even thought of, then great, you know, like bonus, you know? And
well, let me tell you what I think. Here's what I think Oculus did when they said be innovative. Innovative is they were basically saying don't port shit. They couldn't say that, but that's what they wanted to say was don't port shit, because we don't want Doom, Quake, and Commander Keen all dumped into Gear VR using a controller, because that's useless. We want new stuff. Using the word innovative makes people think they've got to really think outside the box, and it might encourage that amazing, way out of left field, cool thing. But the reality of it is that 90% of the entries are not really truly only a VR experience. And I understand what you're saying, you know, Nate, the, you know, splines and X, Y, and Z and all that. You're right. There are certain things that are impossible on a 2D space without special hardware. But those titles are going to be few and far between. We would have ended up with 3 titles for this game jam if that's the only thing that they would have allowed in.
Yeah, I'm not saying, you know, that your entry is somehow invalid if you didn't invent something patentable in this, okay? Because that kind of innovation it's not something you can force. It's something that I don't even know that it has happened in the totality of these entries. But I think if you find a thing that is that can only happen in VR, then that kind of deserves to win more, and it's laid out in the criteria, that deserves to win more, even if it's crappy programmer art, than Blair's amazingly beautiful thing that's well laid out, well thought out, well designed, but doesn't really do anything hugely innovative.
It's still got to be fun, though. I mean, you know, it can't be all innovative, but then be a shit game. It's got to be fun to play as well, you know. And I don't know,
that's half the points, sure.
Right. I mean, like you said. I mean, here's the Dreamcatcher, everybody. You know, everybody enjoy that one.
Yeah.
It was very innovative. But 1 point for that, but it wasn't necessarily the most fun games or console.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's room for both, and we definitely, they're encouraging both, and that's why they split up the points that way. They want some games that are not as high production values, but have innovative concepts that are pushing what you can do in VR and displaying the unique value of VR.
Yeah,
I think you need to look at the audience too. You know, I mean, who is the audience for these for these games. I mean, look at the people. I watch my kids download this dumbest shit off of the Google Play Store, and they're playing it all the time, and they're tapping and laughing like Beavis and Butthead. I don't get it. But if that's what kids want, then damn it, that's what we should give them.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You know, the weird thing is, I think one of the games that has the most, like, you could only do this in VR right now is actually Elite Dangerous, which is ridiculous because it was created for the monitor. But it's like in Elite Dangerous, like in VR mode, you can look all around your cockpit. You can follow somebody with your HMD while you're chasing them down, and those styles of play are not available in monitor mode. They're infeasible because you're controlling so many things at once. So I think.
I fucking love that game, man. That game's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah, for sure.
And so yeah, I think there are actually going to be a lot of cases, like there isn't any VR game that you can't port to a monitor, but there's going to be games like that where you are losing something essential when you do so.
Should we push on?
Immersive, I gotta get you on Elite as well, because we need to play Elite.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Let's do it.
Let's roll.
I need to point out several of the games that I loaded and played, the name of the game was still Oculus Sample, and a lot of them didn't have good icons to differentiate themselves. I got to give Drash props for having a good name and a really, really neat icon for his game, for this one. This thing just ran just amazingly smooth.
You had a nice icon too, Rev.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes, thank you. I think those kind of things are important.
They're like the finishing touch, yeah.
Exactly.
Polish.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Do also got to say thanks to Drash for on the smear effect, which I know I myself and several other developers used in their content over the past few months. So he's been helpful quite a bit.
He's a very cool guy. Another one of these devs who's doing amazing stuff. You know, Apollo 11, Titans of Space. I mean,
He did Apollo 11. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just a pillar of VR development from the very beginning.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Major props to him. I just love his text was just so perfect. It was sharp, it was the right font, it was the right everything.
But it's red.
I know, I couldn't get over it's like actually like an orange type of yellowy, I don't know. It doesn't have that weird overly saturated red effect that usually destroys text.
But I mean, red should look bad on Gear VR. I don't know how he did that.
It's amazing. It might be a blur effect or a shader or something.
No, red on black specifically is
It's
bad.
the
Red on
worst.
white
Red on
is
white
actually
is
fine.
I think he mixed just the right amount of yellow into that red to get rid of that weird effect.
I just noticed it's actually red on gray, so that probably helps.
yeah, definitely. But what exactly is going on here? Can someone boil this down?
You're controlling a
down for me?
telescope. You go and you find stars and constellations, you zoom in, and then you find out more about them. So it's a learning experience.
I like that.
It's like controlling a planetarium. Or a telescope, duh.
Does it have the whole sky?
I'll tell you what, it looked pretty damn accurate. I know just a bit enough about astronomy to look up and go, hey, look, it's the summer sky. I mean, it was even accurate to the time of year.
Yeah, I mean, Drash being Drash, you know.
Yeah, I mean, Orion's belt was exactly where it was supposed to be, and I mean, all the Pleiades.
So it actually reflects the night sky at your time and location?
No, it wasn't at the exact time, because I was playing it at like 11 a.m., and there's no way in hell Orion would have been where it was. But it was definitely at least timeliness for the time of year.
Cool.
Right. Gamified learning. Yeah.
I think that must be really tough to make learning fun as well, because that looks like it would be fun.
If you're
I
into
would like
astronomy,
to
it's a
try
great way
that.
to learn it, you know.
Cranes!
Another
Daniel
clever
Potts.
use of the cockpit effect.
I need to play this game.
Yeah.
And another example of the
What is
wrong
it with
choice.
you and cranes, Steve?
I already want to play this one. Jenga, anyone?
What's that?
Yeah, it's like
I don't-
reverse
I don't-
Jenga.
I still don't really get it, but
I think it looks fun, but yeah, that would be cool. I think it looks really good, but I don't think that's going to win.
Now, I think it's too
Yeah.
simple. I mean, it's good for what it does, but I think several people could have built something very similar very quickly.
That's a...
Oh, sure. No, I don't
Denver,
discount it.
or,
I just,
you know,
it belongs on the store. I don't think any of these games don't belong on the store. I want everything to end up there. I just don't think it's a contender to be a winner.
Yeah, I think they need to expand it to add some more levels, add some more mechanics.
yeah, locations, blocks, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Different skins, that sort of thing.
But it's definitely the beginning of the game.
Absolutely.
Who did this one?
Code of Frost.
In an ordinary city,
Oh,
Ah,
yeah.
right.
there was a man whose boring, mundane life was about to become
The story behind this one is so clever. If you watch the video and listen to what he's saying, it's just so funny.
For the past 12 years, I have been working in solitude on a secret project. Others have theorized that we could be living within multiple dimensions, but I believe I have created a compound that allows me to actually peer into these other worlds. Strange visions have been plaguing my mind. Colossal alien cities, ancient deserts and distant lands. Flashes of imagery far too detailed and vivid to have simply been conjured by my imagination.
That's innovation,
My
though.
mind's eye, I can
VRChat,
actually
the
interact with
next
these other
frontier.
dimensions.
These are the experiences from Gunters universe. His continuing mission to seek out and connect with VR devs and passionate enthusiasts, to discuss theories, beliefs, and rhetoric of all kinds, and to boldly go where no show has ever gone before.
I'll be damned if anyone will stop me.
So here's the thing. No, I don't think this is this could work on a screen. This is a screener type of game. You could easily have that panel be attached to the mouse, but this game looks really, really cool. It's a clever concept, and even just for the novelty factor, I think this game deserves an
And the
award.
art style is spectacular.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's so much going on in this that's new, and it looks great, and it's well produced, has great production values. There's like, I wouldn't be surprised if this got first place.
I was gonna say one thing. If you remember, there's the game that won the 3D Jam Leap Motion IndyCAD that happened not too long ago. That was the Aboard the Looking Glass by Henry Hoffman, and that one won first place. It had where you put your hands in front of you and you'd see either the future or the past, but you had to actually use your hands to see objects that were there or not there depending on where you're walking, and that has the exact same thing going on. But yeah, it has a very good chance of winning first, I believe.
I was kind of upset that I couldn't try it. Unfortunately, my Note 4 is running Lollipop, and this is one of those games that is not quite optimized for Lollipop, so therefore it crashes as soon as it loads.
I should post to the subreddit the conspiracy Keanu meme that I made that just says, What if they called it Lollipop because they know it sucks?
The problem is, hey, the thing is, just because there's maybe some compatibility issues, I've been running Lollipop since the day it came out. I actually designed my game on Lollipop, and I have had no problems whatsoever. I know. I found that out afterwards. I felt like a schmuck because I'm like, wait a minute, why is everybody else on KitKat still? And I accidentally gave myself an extra hurdle, something to have to compete against. Here I am optimizing to get 60 frames per second on Lollipop, only to find out the damn thing runs at like 80. Well, it doesn't, but it could on a KitKat. So I'm like, shit, I optimized without even knowing it.
And
everybody
I was just going to say, this game's actually really interesting from a performance perspective, because its unique art style enabled them to do this thing where they could basically have the entire environment just be drawn one big draw call. And so they ended up with like 5 draw calls in total, which is a ridiculously small number for any game. So that's very cool.
That blows my mind.
Good
you
job.
You ruined it.
Things gonna work.
I guess they're just going to have to run just my game only. I don't know.
There you go. You
no,
accidentally
that's
cornered the market, Kyle.
Well, see, I accidentally did. No, actually, a lot of other people's games. So, like Drash's game and Technolust and what other ones did I install? Captain Clark. They all ran fine on Lollipop. So I don't know what the difference is because some of them ran and others did not. So Tactera, E. McNeil's game ran just fine. I'm just looking at all the different. Let's see. I think I deleted everything else, but yeah, they all worked. So I don't know why some did and some didn't.
So jealous.
Ooh.
Nice.
You're feeling the itch.
Sounds like a plan, man.
Fucking awesome.
No problem.
Gave me like, yeah, I got this.
Well, how do you think I felt when I'm like, okay, let's go download the competition and everybody's game doesn't work? I'm like, this is awesome. Then I found out everybody else developed on KitKat. I'm like, oh crap. Do it. Nah, do it.
It's so much better.
Right.
It's pure open source.
It just works.
Android's so open source though. Android's so open source you can do whatever you want on Android, mate.
The back button's a little bit random. No, that's true. What, did you want to hold your phone?
Who makes phone calls on their phone?
Doc's there. She's like,
Yeah, I actually
Seriously.
buried the phone app on my Android, like, in a folder because I almost never use it.
It's such a weird time to be the age that we are, you know, to remember like payphones and shit, and now your phone isn't even a phone anymore.
Put that phone on my head, and then I see in that world. And
Yeah, right?
whatever, you can come up with any...
Woo, abusing public infrastructure.
I'm not getting free phone calls, which is...
I did that constantly, man. I
You
think
were
I
freaker?
Oh, I was a total freaker. I even built boxes and stuff, like black boxes and stuff.
Nice.
And, oh yeah, that was back in the day. I don't think I paid for a payphone call for 5 years straight. Yeah, it would just say like enter or put in X amount of money or whatever, and well, now most of those ask for a credit card, but
I guess credit card.
if I wanted to call long distance and it said enter, you know, please insert $3 to continue your call, I could do that, no problem, for free, with a box.
I had no idea you were that much of a freaker.
For real.
Right?
Yeah,
back in the day. I don't like to talk about it because I didn't realize how terribly illegal a lot of it was, and now that I'm a father and a husband and viable member of society, I don't like to talk
be a bad
about
example. Be a bad example.
Right.
Don't worry. See, Reverend, although I am recording you right now, nobody's going to mess with the fucking Hulk, okay? No.
Well, I'm not worried about it because I did everything under a handle that not a lot of people know is me, so I'm not worried about it.
And payphones no longer exist, so it's not like your kids can emulate.
I think the statute of limitations has run out on that one.
Would it surprise you to know that I actually own several payphones? Well, okay, I obtained several payphones back then.
So he's a thief and a vandal, as well as
Where do you keep them?
In my parents' basement. They don't even know it's there.
So, okay, so they're your unwitting accomplices. That's great.
Yep.
Yeah, well, you know.
All right.
The Circle K will never miss them.
Yeah, let's move on before Rev tells us all the other illegal shit, like where the bodies are buried, right?
Right. Gotta move on.
How do you know
Got our
about
mates
that?
over here in the UK who's been awake for so many hours.
Yeah, I'm feeling fucked, man. I've got red eyes.
It's fine. They provoked him. You know how
10
it
to
is.
6. 10 to 6 now, man.
You got 2 hours. You got 2 hours till you got the remodelers. Oh, love it.
Is this the Van Gogh one? I like this idea so much. I mean, it's just, you know, environments. It's just an experience, but it's
I want to know
very
how
well done.
I'm confused. I want to know how
Right,
they did
right.
this. Is this a
How the
shader?
fuck? How the fuck?
Is this like what?
It's just textures, I think.
That's a
Beautiful
lot of
beautiful
art.
texture.
I want to see what it looks like without the textures on it.
You can't.
Oh, look
really-
at that light effect.
You can't do post-processing shaders on the phone in the same way that you can do it on a computer. It like doesn't have the right GPU tech in the phone or something.
No, these have to be baked in.
I
There's
think this
something
is
amazing
just
going on.
textures. But they're really nice textures.
I mean, I guess that could technically be a particle effect, but the lights, I don't know. When he blinks, it just freaks me out.
Just a shit
Yeah,
ton of
that'd be
nice
cool.
art in
Excuse
that
me,
out.
I have to leave. Metatron desperately needs a good texture artist, and I have some phone calls to make.
If you're
That
struggling
looked
with bipolar
beautiful.
depression,
Yeah. And was it so?
There are
My impression
treatment
is that like those were designed so that from particular angles, they would perfectly replicate the appearance of the original painting. Is
Yeah, I
that the
reckon
case?
so.
Fucking amazing.
very cool.
That's true.
That's one of my favorites that I've seen so far.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Very, very cool.
Totally.
In the experiences
Dave
category, I
Ryan.
think it's definitely a contender.
Taking art and making it an experience. I mean,
See that right there?
Campaign.
That screen right there with the controller with like 800 arrows showing what it all does. That just, oh my god, look at this. Photoshop
Right,
inside
right.
of VR. Frustrating.
Yeah.
This UI is elaborate.
Like,
I feel like this has a
there's
learning
7
curve.
people in the world that will be able to do this expertly, and 3 of them were developers of it. Did he just
Are
draw
they drawing
a dog?
a penis?
oh,
The big
no.
hairy balls.
Oh, no,
Yes.
it's a snail. It's a snail. It's not a ball sack.
What? Right? Like, is this at about 700 times speed here that he's doing? He's building an
Doing stop
animation. Is
motion.
what he's doing.
Oh my god.
Yeah, yeah. It's like one of them old school Victorian wheel things, and you spin it and you can see the animation.
And the animation actually goes all the way around you.
Oh yeah.
This,
Explosion line.
wow. This is, oh, it's a cannon. It's a cannon.
Yep.
And boom goes the cannon.
Is the
Yeah,
cannon gonna hit itself? What happens if a cannon fires on itself?
And nobody's around to hear it.
It's a nice idea, but it's not very practical for long-term play.
So Nate, what do you think? Could this be played on a screen?
Absolutely not. And I think that's probably what Dave was going for with this. Okay, understand that Dave Wyand is he's probably one of the most skilled C++ coders in the dev community, if not in the friggin' world. He was responsible for writing a large portion of the Torque 3D engine. He has been a VR dev since day one. I think he might have one of the first posts on the Oculus forums. And like every other thing that he's ever done, it's super helpful, and you know, he did all kinds of stuff when we were exploring Torque. He helped us with all of that. Dave is an amazing guy. And I think if there is a failing to this, it's just that. It's that he's too smart for his own good. And people are going to look at this and say, how the hell do I just want to draw an O and close it and never open it again.
Well, that looks
Hey, it's
like
the dude from Phase Shift.
Phase Shift.
Cool. Oh, I remember them talking about this. Okay. Now that the frame of reference makes sense now.
So,
Well, I mean, isn't it basically though just a paint app, a paint animation app that's running on a 360-degree screen on a cylinder?
Yeah.
Pretty much. That's my impression of it. And
But it's
you know,
the only one like it. I'll tell you
That's true.
that much.
That's true.
I mean, it definitely fills a void, a game that doesn't, or an experience, an app that doesn't exist yet. And now he's the first one to do it. So kudos
That's absolutely
to him.
true. Absolutely true.
It's the GIMP. It's the Photoshop.
I guess I just wonder, like, how many other apps could you port to a cylinder, and that it would be interesting
Tried
and
all
useful.
the pesticides.
Porn.
All the exterminators in the county.
What's funny too is his whole career has been domed. Weird.
Say
Oh,
hello
this
to
is
my
Fructus again?
freaking head-mounted laser beam, you eight-legged bastards!
Flower guy.
Ready.
This is so hilariously novel.
This is Fruxius, and who was the other person on this? Lewis, I believe. I believe it's Fruxius and Lewis.
Another game that.
Oh yeah, Argo sound design.
These voice effects are interesting.
So this is the reverse of Project Taurus.
It is, isn't it?
Basically. When I saw this, I went, shit, they went the other direction. Okay, that works.
I think this could be fun if they had an option to turn the audio off.
I like how you can light the fuses of the bombs.
Yup.
Yeah, if this wins, I'll be upset because I could have totally just put Project Taurus in the damn game jam. Oh well. Well, I couldn't have because it would have violated the rules, which I don't know if we want to talk about that at all.
I kind of want to talk about that. This looks like it's one of those games where you would take your headset off and you'd say, well, I just missed my entire class and I thought I had only been playing it for 10 minutes.
There you go. Good call.
Yeah. It seems like you would practice it a lot and like get better and better at it.
You know, it's simple. It's a gaze shooter. You know, that's another thing that we should talk about maybe, how, you know, Carmack basically came out and said, don't build a gaze shooter for the channel, please
That's
don't.
not literally what he said, but
No.
he did basically say, I'll kill for the sake of them.
He's the king of freaking gaze shooters, and he doesn't want us to make a gaze shooter. Their irony to that.
What a hypocrite,
right? Yes. It's like, don't do what I just made $1 million on every year for the last 15 years of my life. Don't do that.
But this does look like it would be a lot of fun. I could see myself playing that for a long time and then wanting to play it again the next day.
Do you know if like the leaderboards are sort of interactive and online, so you can compete against globally sort of thing?
Good question.
That could make things a lot more interesting.
It absolutely does. Like, Kyle, you should talk about that a lot when we get to your game. I assume that's in the list.
Absolutely.
Somewhere.
Yes, I can. And will. At great length. And I'll even share my secrets with everybody.
Kyle's game, it's here.
Oh shit, there it is. Well, okay, so as you can see here is a global leaderboard. And yes, it's global, and
boom.
Yeah, so
platform.
You can see I'm actually using a wonderful, wonderful site that I found called Dreamlo, D-R-E-A-M-L-O. And I spent several hours creating an interface. This keyboard, I custom designed this whole thing to save the name into. I'm a big fan of using player prefs in Android development, so stores the name, gets your score, sends it off to Dreamlow, which pulls it back into JavaScript, only to find out after I spent several hours developing all this, there's an asset on the fucking asset store that does most of it for you for free. So, but I felt good knowing that I had done it my own custom way, so it doesn't look like the asset, so nobody can accuse me of retooling. But yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm like Rev has come so far. Like he just like a year ago he was making really rudimentary early stuff, and now he's like, this is a complete game experience he built all by himself, and it's fun, and you can play beginning to end. It's multi-stage. It's a full game.
This game originally was supposed to be like 30 levels. I had this idea that this game could be like a Mario type of experience where it would have different like boards, different levels, different, you know, like I was going to keep going with this, and then when the jam, you know, the concept for this game happened about a month before the jam occurred, and then the jam occurred, and I'm like, well shit, this is my jam game. So yeah, but I have major plans to expand on this game, but as it stands right now, it is a 10 to 15 minute experience, played beginning to end, and you have a desire to continue playing it over and over to get a higher score. Nice thing about it too is the score, the longer you play, the higher your score can get. So if you die and you have to go back and replay a level, which happens right there, you get to go back and continue to play, and it keeps accumulating your score. So when you see people whose scores on my leaderboard are 20,000 points, you know they played for approximately 20 to 25 minutes. And my leaderboard is available on my website too. You can go see it, and it'll show the top 5,000 scores.
Now, Kyle, I wanted to ask you a question about that.
Sure.
It's cumulative. You get more points as you play the game, and that's true after you die. So like, so the guy who has the highest score is going to be the guy who has like played the game over and over again or something.
Okay, so let me rephrase that so it doesn't. Okay, so when you are done playing, when you stop playing, whatever your score is, that's what's sent. It's not like if you go and start over again at the beginning, that'll start adding to your score again. No, it's not cumulative like that. Now, if you play through the whole game, get to the end, you win, and that score is higher than your previous own personal score, then it will replace it with the new one. But if it's not, then your original one stands because it is higher.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out here if there should be a split leaderboard or something where like, because is it hard to just sit there and count up the seconds so that you get a higher score?
Well, no, it's a countdown. See, I can tell you, if I did exactly what you're saying, I can tell you exactly what the highest score could be, and nobody could ever beat it. Because I could tell you exactly, let's see, so it would be 500 and 700 per level, so the highest score you could get would potentially be about 5,000. So you could never get higher than 5,000 or maybe 5,200 ever in the game. But if you died, see, I'm rewarding you for playing longer. Because I think when you're talking about a virtual reality experience, you should be rewarded for playing longer. And so that's my scoring logic.
That's very interesting. I kind of want to see the split leaderboard in the same way that you pulled out the DK2 platform with that release, which was a really good idea. I kind of want to see like different scoreboards maybe for different things, like whatever the scoring method is at the center of that. You know, like have another scoreboard that takes out that reward, and here's the top player for you know, who like got the slowest or the fastest time, whatever it is.
technically my leaderboard can, if I wanted to do a time type of thing as well, I could add that. That wouldn't be hard to add. That's just a couple lines of code on both sides. So if I wanted to see who could get through it the fastest, that's possible. But again, there's going to be a limit that nobody could ever cross. It would be physically impossible. So I'd be able to tell you what the what the best score could be. The way it stands now, there is no such thing as what's the best score, because all it takes is somebody to stay in the game 5 seconds longer than you did to get a higher score. So it's it's an endurance score than it is anything else. Oh no, you actually have to do something. So if you just sit there and do nothing, you'd actually have to be out there actively consuming every bug within that 200 seconds. Because you get 200 seconds to beat each level. And so every time you die, you restart the level and all the bugs repopulate. So you'd go and collect all the bugs. And see, the thing is, you have to collect 20 bugs to be able to get to the next level. I make it sound more glamorous actually in the game, but because you're increasing your jump levels. But yeah, it's 20 bugs get you to the next level. Each bug gives you 100 points. So if you don't make it in enough time and you only collect, let's say, 18 bugs, that's 1,800 points you've collected. But now you've died, restart the level, all those bugs are back again. But you have to go back and recollect them all again. So it's an endurance reward.
Yeah,
so there's my innovation right there. Yeah, and yes, like you alluded to, Nate, I did split it out. So there's a DK2 version of my game as of this morning, and it has its own separate leaderboard. Although I originally didn't think it needed one, because I don't think that there's any advantage one way or the other. Because there are the exact identical game with the exact identical input, but it's just on a different screen. Maybe, I don't know.
Is it very difficult to actually implement a game for the DK2 as well? Is there any difference in actually coding it and creating the game, or is it just exactly the same sort of for both SDKs?
It's a good question. No, what I did was I took the folder that had the mobile SDK in it that I used for Enswell. I made a copy of it, renamed it Enswell DK2, went in, stripped out all the Android crap, the plugins, the OVR controllers, everything. I stripped all that out, went back into Unity, opened it up, and then dumped the other SDK in. And that really truly was the easy part. Now what happened was I ended up, because there's positional tracking, there's a lot of position to consider, the fact that people can now move their head forward and backwards. There's implications to that, and so I had to readjust several things. My UI, my on-screen UI, had to be completely retweaked in each level, but it took me 3 hours from beginning to end to do that, on top of a game that took me a month to complete. So yeah, I mean,
that's still pretty awesome though.
Yeah, pretty easy to do. Yeah.
And
keep in mind,
I think if you were really like, it's probably preferable to not like make a separate project and rip out one set of one SDK and put the other one in, since you probably want to be able to continue to maintain and build both of them from the same code base. But that's just like best practice for future reference.
Yeah, and I did it as a quick and dirty method of getting it done.
Right, just to get something out.
Right, yeah, because that was the big concern was, can these developers get their games out on DK2 or other platforms? And a lot of us, I mean, I was talking to Blair and Mark and several of the other developers, and like, can we do this, or is that like a no-no? And we asked, and they answered. I mean, the Oculus people answered on the forums and said, yeah, no, go ahead, release it for other platforms. And
non-exclusive.
Yeah, there we go. Yep. So yeah, next step is cardboard and regular standard Android, not stereo. I mean, shit, sky's the limit at this point.
So where's the idea for this game come from originally?
The original idea for this game came from me screwing around with third-person camera scripts. and me, it was just a square in a box and just playing around with third person, and having a conversation with a few people about different third person scripts. I had found some assets that I kind of liked, and started playing around with those. And then, you know, I was watching my kids play Mario Galaxy, and originally this game was going to be, and Nate, you'll probably appreciate this, originally this game was going to be inside of an orb. So the character was going to be running around inside of an orb. So it was an inverted globe, which, imagine being able to look up and see all the way across to the other side of the map. And then after a conversation with a piece of fruit, he advised me that, no, that's the dumbest idea on the fucking planet for this type of game. I think those might have been his exact words. He encouraged me to go the other route and said, wow, that actually looks like a really good mechanic. You could totally turn that into a real game. And so he kind of helped inspire that.
Cool.
Plus the kids. I wanted something for the kids, you know?
Right, something they could play and have fun with.
Absolutely.
Of all ages, etc.
It's been funny, like you heard Max on the Left-Handed podcast say it looks like a Christian educational game.
Yeah, when I listened to that,
deck like that,
I listened to that and I thought, who's this Max asshole? I'm gonna find him. And I thought,
please.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I'm like, what is this, VeggieTales? And I think somebody even said that. It's like, oh, it's like VeggieTales. And I'm like, no. The frog, I assure you, when the frog dies, he goes straight to hell. There's no propaganda here at all. I promise you. So
nobody learning anything.
That's right. Purely entertainment value.
Like a few days before the end, Jason tells me, you know, Kyle's game turned out really good. He might just win something with this thing. And I like the idea of you look at a place and tell the frog to jump there, because what other thing that you could have as a main character moves like that? Absolutely nothing. So I guess,
right,
there we go.
I played Nighttime Terrors, where they also had the look to move mechanic, but it didn't feel as good as it felt with Endswell, because the character was just automatically turning the moment you moved your head. It's like, no, I didn't want to go that way. I was just looking. But with this game, you know, you have a little bit of that latency built in because it doesn't jump instantly, so you can kind of look around and then choose where you want to jump.
So it's funny you say that, because you're right. A lot of games, the character just becomes the reticle. But I watched your video on how to produce a reticle, and I used that in my Hack the Gibson game. Yeah, I loved it. It worked out really well. And then I thought, oh, shit, I could do that exact same effect in this game and then just have the frog. The frog actually has two scripts on it that, you know, the one's the hop mechanism and the other one is an actual. So what the frog does is he actually looks at the reticle immediately as soon as you click the button, and then the next script, the hop mechanism, hops. So beyond that, getting the tongue to shoot out and eat the bugs. One criticism that I've gotten, and I feel it's very legitimate, is that the space where the frog will eat the bug doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel natural, and it's a sphere around his head. So it does need something. I just don't. There's no conical collider, so I don't know what to do.
I don't know, because I feel when I played it, I felt at first like it was kind of unfair. It was like, well, I totally jumped to where that bug was, and he didn't eat it. What's going on? But you know, eventually I started to figure out, oh, direction really matters in this game. I felt like there was a little bit of a learning curve, and I think it's okay.
Well, and that's why I told my kids, I'm like, if you're standing on something, you sure as hell can't eat it. So
don't challenge them; they might do it.
Right. But I would love to hear. I mean, Nate, I don't think you didn't actually have a chance to play it, but I'd love, and if anybody else wants to chime in, I'd love to hear constructive criticism about it, because I feel like there's been a few people on the subreddit who have been, given it, some negative comments, and I'm really curious. I would love to hear some constructive criticism from the Peanut Gallery if anybody has anything to say. Yeah, it's out there now. It's on the front page of the subreddit, so everybody should be able to find it.
Yeah.
Well, and I know a lot of people have.
No, I'll definitely check it out tomorrow for sure, and I'll be able to give you feedback at that point. Unfortunately, all my feedback is not constructive. I'm kind of an asshole, so sorry.
Well, I'll take that from the people who admit to that.
No, for sure, man. I can't wait to play that and give you some. So.
Well, thank you.
Off the top of my head, one thing that I never see used really at all, the lasso mechanic, I think is a thing that definitely deserves more of a seat at the table than it has right now. So maybe you tell your frog to jump over here with the button, but then he doesn't eat the bug right away. You have to with your head with a reticle draw a circle around the bug if the frog is close enough.
My 4-year-old plays Enswell right now and can get to the 3rd level with ease. If I were to have done that, while you're correct, that probably would be great for somebody like you or I. My 4-year-old would no longer enjoy the game.
That's a good point.
I actually really dislike the lasso mechanic because because I feel like I feel like the primary thing you do with your head should be looking around, and you can add you can do one other thing with your head if it's simple, if it's straightforward, but you should be mostly looking around with your head. And the more complex and intricate things you're doing with your head, the more you're using your head for the wrong thing.
See, I actually love the lasso concept, but only for big groupings. But once you get into that little precision, I feel like I've got Tourette's or something.
But see, I guess that's what I'm getting at here. My criticism of what I've seen of the game is that it doesn't seem challenging enough. It seems like something that is appropriate for kids, and that's great, but I'm going to play it, and I'm going to say there's no skill ceiling on this. It's in the floor, and kind of lose interest.
And you're absolutely assessing it correctly. You're right. It is a true idiot game. However, I've had adults and children alike get super frustrated at several of the levels, and that pleases me because Pac-Man is an idiot game that any person can play, but we needed games like Pac-Man in the beginning, something that was any idiot could learn how to play. I mean, Nolan Bushnell said a really good game is one that's easy to learn and hard to master, and I live by that. When I try to design something, I consider that every time.
I'm having trouble seeing the level of mastery for this one. And
I mean, this is an easy game to beat, but it's pretty difficult to get everything quickly and get kind of that good score in that low time. And I think there's a certain amount of mastery.
If you could figure out a better scoreboard mechanic that rewards high skill, and even include that as a separate scoreboard, then I think you're really onto something. Then you've got a game that a kid can play and have fun, and I beat the level, but then somebody else who's serious about this game can go in and do the hard parts and beat it real fast or something and get on that leaderboard, and then you're kind of catering to everyone.
Maybe like a time trial sort of thing.
Yeah, I really agree with you on that. And one of the things that I'm, and D, who's played it, will know that, level 1 is learn how to jump. Level 2 is learn how to jump and learn how to eat. Level 3 is take all that and now you've got enemies. Level 4 is just a total clusterfuck, hurry up and get the hell done. And so when you look at the build-up of each individual level, I end the game with you anticipating a second part to it, ends well too.
Right.
And so what you're suggesting, that's why I'm looking for this type of criticism now, is because I want to incorporate that into the next game, the next iteration, the next part of this franchise. So just like Super Mario Brothers, then Mario World, then Mario Galaxy, each time it expands on the mechanic, I want to do that. And so having a time trial or having a different level of measurement of their score is definitely something. I mean, that's a given that will be in the next iteration of this game.
Yeah, I'm going to play that. The DK2 version works for my stupid poor ass's old DK1, right? considering this.
Yeah, as long as the most recent runtime works with the.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're in it now, then yeah, you should be okay. But you'll appreciate the DK1 people, and this is again me thinking about the entire community. The DK1 people will appreciate the simplicity of the design of the game because in a DK1 it will look gorgeous still.
Cool, man.
Although,
I'm
will
totally
the
going
bugs
to play
be
that
too
and get
small?
back to you.
No, I actually increased the bugs size just a bit.
Okay.
The road, I unfortunately neglected to make them bigger in that level. I realized afterwards, so I might put an update out with bigger bugs on the road.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll bet I could give you 20 more pieces of criticism after I play it.
Fantastic. I'll take them.
I mean, this is such a great success story for like someone who just loves VR but hasn't done a lot of development, just being able to jump in and like in such a short time be putting out a full
I think you
we
lost
might
D.
have lost D.
Okay.
I think he might have.
Immersive, were you saying something?
Yeah, man. I was sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt anyone there. Sorry. Do you want to carry on for a minute, D?
I think he's broken. There, he's gone.
Broken.
All right. All I was going to say is I really had such a good time, coming on the show, and I can't thank you guys enough for having me. It is 6:20 in the morning over here, and my kids are going to be getting up soon,
Yep.
So I'm going to have to make a move, I think. But I would love to come back and, if that would be okay with you, I'd love to come back another day, and thank you so much for having me. Well, to be honest, if anyone's into VR and stuff, I've got loads of cool VR content on my channel. But to be honest, I'm just happy to be along for the ride tonight. So thank you very much for having me.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Good seeing you, Immersive.
Yeah, nice one. And it's been a really pleasure to meet all of you, and I feel lucky enough to have been sat down close enough to speak to you all. So thank you very much.
No problem, man.
Take care, guys.
Catch you again.
See you later tonight, man.
Yeah, nice one. See you later, guys.
Oh, yeah.
I still want to hear about the Vive Jam if he actually comes back.
I don't know when I first heard of them. The elders called them great spirits. We just called them what they were. Giants. The Colossus.
Coloss. Okay. See, I was trying to figure out how to pronounce it correctly. Is one of them named Tony, so it would be Coloss Tony. Coloss Tony.
That's bad.
I don't know.
Thumbs down for that joke, bro.
Sorry. It's late. It's like 1:30 in the morning, man. And I'm done with my third gin and tonic within the last hour, so.
Yeah, so tonight we definitely did get started a little later. Unfortunately, we had a lot of UK people with us that couldn't manage that. Even myself, it's about, I think, even 12:30 here, and it just happens. Oh, wow, the giant. I could only imagine how that looks.
Scale. Yep.
Imagine what it would look like in VR.
And this is really interesting and innovative because Nick and the guys on the art team, this is a pretty large team, they did this amazing thing that this isn't a movie exactly. Our friend A Piece of Fruit, yeah, our friend A Piece of Fruit did this elaborate gaze-based narration like cueing system thing. So stuff is happening because you're looking at it here.
Right, I see.
You know, it's actually a little bit subtle, but it's a sort of experience thing that is interactive, even though you might not notice it because, you know, all the action is happening when you're looking at it. So,
right.
It's kind of in a way, it might be a solution to the problem of 360 video content. Trying to figure out a way to, you know, how do I make an environment immersive and have stuff going on all over the place, but also make sure that players don't miss it.
This was another one of those things that I really wish would have run on my phone that I didn't get to experience because of my stupid lollipop.
And this looks really, really cool.
Fucking Android.
I believe they're working on a DK2 version.
Yeah, one thing, Nate, you talked about earlier about games that could only work in VR. I think this brings me to an interesting, you know, thought, which I've thought before, as is obviously scale. You know, anything that brings in scale, whether it's, you know, small or large, is one thing that really can only be done in VR in a way that cannot be done in a monitor.
Yeah,
you know? And the moment I see, you know, the Iron Giant walking up to me, it really, you know, it impacts me in some way that I could never feel watching it even on my YouTube video.
Yeah.
It means nothing, you know. So.
Right. Yeah, you watch this on a monitor, you're like, oh wow, that art style is beautiful. You watch this when that thing is fucking 5 feet away from you and that big, like a skyscraper, towering over you. You're gonna shit your pants, you know? Like.
Oh yeah, it kind of reminds me of the first time in VR when I kind of went flying towards the sun. I wanted to throw the headset off. It scared me like to the core.
Yeah.
It freaked me out.
So these things have one area, one point of failure, and it's right in the center of their chest. How's that for a Colossus? I don't know, I just realized that. I don't know, that's probably the liquor talking, though.
It's like the Hunter in Halo, man.
So yeah, that's going to win something.
Yeah, there are a few experiences that I'm really glad they are in the experiences category and not in the game category, because I would be screwed.
As a guy who has just the one entry now in the app category, I really, really hate that they smashed experiences together in there, kind of just because they didn't want to pony up the additional money for a third category.
I think they did it because they thought it would be such a small amount of entries. I mean, really, truly, how many apps are there? It would have been you and the, you know, Photoshop VR and speed readers. There's like 3 of them now, aren't there? I mean, what else was an app? Would you consider the music, you know, the synthesizers and that kind of stuff? Would you consider that an app, or is that a, you know, are you producing something, or are you just screwing around as an experience? So there's too many gray areas. I mean, that's just my thought, because I've already had this conversation with one other person, and that was what they said to me. Because I actually agree with you. I at first I thought, yeah, they should be separate, but this other person convinced me, no, they had to do it that way, because if not, you'd end up with amazing games versus speed readers, you know?
I don't think, though, that have to. I think if you said, okay, there are 3 categories, there are games, there are experiences, and there are apps, and there are separate prize pools for all of those, I don't think it would be real hard to say, well, is my music synthesizer thing an app or an experience? I guess it's an app. Done. right? There are a few things that would be very difficult to categorize between like experience and game and whatever. You decide which category you want to
But if you made your music synthesizer an app and then some other idiot makes his an experience, then what? They're not against each other anymore. And now you've got 3 people vying for $1 million in one category and 180 of them in another category vying for it.
But you can make the same argument, though, about the split between the game and the experience thing, can't you? Because that's a much finer line in my eyes. You see an app.
Well, I mean, some of the games even I'm looking at, I'm like, the game mechanic is just turn a page. I don't know.
So it's going to be problematic no matter what, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
Thank you. Sorry, I blue screened, and I had to reboot.
That's not fun. Yeah. Do we have any final thoughts about the Gear VR Jam?
Yes.
Looking forward.
Oh yeah.
I'm a little worried that when the winners come out, there's going to be a bunch of people like calling foul and a lot of upset people in politics and all that kind of thing.
Yep.
And that could with so much money on the line, I think some people are going to be really upset. But I think on the whole, it's going to build their library. It gets a lot of people hands-on with Gear VR, which they might have never had otherwise. And it explores the space, and I think it's going to be really effective in the long term at building up mobile VR.
Yeah, and my final thought on it is I feel very accomplished that I got a game out there, something that I could honestly say, I did it, I'm done, and I did it under the pressure of a contest, and it's a contender. And if I don't make it into the finals, or if I don't, because the judging is all subjective at this point. One person just happens to like frogs, and as a result, they pick my game over something else, or, ooh, frogs are icky, or, ooh, kid games are dumb, or I hated Animal Crossing. That kind of stuff.
And
I don't care.
Fly on the wall. Who, like Carmack's arguing with Palmer, no, it is immersive because of X, Y, and it is innovative because they did this thing, and there's. I would love to read the email logs of all the judges going back and back and forth.
But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think the judges will interact with each other at all. I think they'll all judge independently. I don't think they're all going to be in a room raising their hands. All in favor of Colossal, raise your hand. I don't think that's
that
going
would
to
be
happen.
cool, though, if they did have meaningful discussion about the merits of the entries.
Yeah, it's not going to be 12 Angry Men, that kind of thing.
So if only they had a virtual place where they could all come together and make this kind of
yeah.
If only. Well, they would need like a screen where they could all watch and wait. Yeah.
See, that's the big concern that I have, is that the culling for the final round is going to happen by a bunch of people who are not going to play the games. That scares me the most. Because
and actually was worried about this as well. He commented about it in the last FAQ.
Man, yeah, I'm really worried about that. I think a lot of good games are going to get screwed because of that.
I hope they don't. I hope that I don't see how they could exclude anything on the basis of its challenge post description, unless they were just excluding the ones where they obviously didn't even try.
37 out of 184, that's going to take a lot of culling, and I mean, you got to have some criteria for that.
It seems like they have to a lot of these are full-fledged entries. They have to play them, but they're not going to play them. I don't see how that works.
Yeah, me neither. That's what I'm most worried about. But you're right. There's going to be a lot of butthurt people, and I mean, just calm down, kids. Be proud of what you did. Know that your game's going to end up on the, people will play your game and appreciate it for what it is. And, a lot of games that didn't win the first time around end up going on to be amazing franchises. So be proud of what you
Everybody
did.
wins.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Remember,
my advice to anyone who loses this contest would be, like, show them that if you finish your game, you add more features, you add more levels, you put it on the Gear VR store, you sell 1 million copies, you get your $1 million.
That's right.
That works.
Google Cardboard, sure, whatever. Yeah. I love this video.
You filming this, right, D?
Yes, I'm filming this on my Note 4.
QHD?
Yeah, I believe it. 1080p, 60 FPS actually.
Yeah, I could tell it was 60p. That's why I figured it was the QHD.
It only does 60 at 1080p.
Yeah, have you ever done the 4K? Oh my God, it's amazing.
I have, but it's ridiculous.
It's insane. It takes like 20 minutes to process like a minute of video.
Now you're talking about the video quality here, right? I want to talk about the panels in this thing for a minute.
Let's talk about the game here and the Vive. So
okay.
So the game has started, and this game's a really simple game where there are 4 walls, and they're shooting these slow-moving green glowy projectiles at you, and you have to punch them to destroy them before they hit you. I don't know if there's any real penalty for them hitting you, but you still want to hit them. And the guy's just going around, walking all around the space, going after them and hitting them, and you can see he's really using his whole body, really like ducking down and reaching up and swinging, and any kind of motion you can make, it can replicate, and it's really like the hands are being represented with these 2 objects. You'll see it showing the game in a second, and it's really one-to-one. It's really no perceivable latency. It's just all perfectly tracked all the time. No loss of tracking. It's really spectacular.
So how did he not trip over that cable and kill himself?
Right, that cable.
They have some awareness of the cable, and they're also lucky.
I mean, look at that. If that was me, I'd be dead.
Yeah,
I guarantee it.
Your brains would be all over the corner of that desk. And something else we need to talk about here is room scale VR makes you look like a dork. Right? Like, that guy's having time of his life.
All VR makes you look like a dork.
It really does. Look, he still looks like a dork, and he's got it off. That's right.
I guess.
I mean, what it comes down to is, like, people watch my channel, and they don't usually think I look like a dork, and that's because I'm showing them the gameplay footage as I'm playing it. Right. But if you can't see the gameplay footage, you're just like, what the fuck is that guy doing?
Right. He's having a fit.
These are the people who worked on it. That's the team.
Right.
They're mostly people from VRChat. I believe it was 1, 2, 3, 4, something like 5 or 6, 7 people in all, something like that.
Looks like the guy on.
No. Sorry, that was people working on that particular title. There were 3 kits there. No. So there was downstairs area where everyone was developing and prototyping on their DK2s and Razor Hydras. And then whenever they had a test build that they really wanted to run on a Vive, they would just take it upstairs and wait for a Vive to become available, and then they would play it. And there were a small enough number of teams that it could be run that way without having, long lines. No, this was taken during the demo night. So there were 2 days that were development only, and during the development only phase, you just went up there and tested your stuff whenever you wanted to. During the demo night, it was all structured. It was basically every demo. They had a list of demos. They took out the demos that, for whatever reason, painted the Vive in a bad light. For example, they couldn't maintain the 90 frames per second to have a judder-free experience or whatever. And then the ones that were left, they showed each of them to 6 people, and they played them each for, I believe, 3 to 5 minutes, somewhere around there. And it was one demo per person. So even though there were a bunch of demos that were shown, you only got to play one, no matter who you are, unless you're a dev. Then you play as many as you want, but the previous day. And yeah, that's the gist of it.
And as a dev, did you play a bunch of these?
I could have, but it was a long day, so I just kind of decided to get some rest. But I did play Job Simulator. I did play our own demo.
Right.
But there were a bunch. Like I saw a bunch of them up on the wall when people were playing them. They had a projector set up for the Vive in the middle. That was just showing what was going on in game. So Steam VR has this great feature where it actually shows the unwarped monoscopic view of the game in real time in a window on the monitor. And so they just had that projected up on the wall the whole time, and so you could see what people were playing. And there were a bunch of really cool demos. There was one where you like. I have some of the titles on my Twitter, but they were weird things. Like one was where you had a bunch of robot cats that were like magnetically attached to your controller, and you had to fire them at things. and there was another where you're like a Godzilla and you're smashing cars and helicopters in a city, and then you face another giant kaiju. And there was a puzzle game, and the list goes on and on. There are a whole bunch of cool titles in there.
Any sword games? I'm still nervous about that.
I don't remember any sword games. I might have missed one, but someone should make a sword game. That'd be awesome.
Somebody's gonna make a sword game.
Right.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah, so it was originally intended to be like an obstacle course where like you face a bunch of different hazards. They each have different properties, like lasers you have to reflect and things like that. But we just ended up cutting stuff because of time. But if we had more time, we would have done that. Would have been cool. You know how jams are.
Yeah, you were in 2 jams this past week. It's ridiculous.
But yeah, I mean, the vibe, like the atmosphere there, like it was very much like a party. There was free food, there was free drink. People were hanging out. They were talking about all kinds of VR stuff. Like tons of people from all over the country in the VR community in different capacities. People running VRcades, people from major game companies, people from tiny indie studios making VR games. There was Alchemy, there was HTC reps, there were reps from Unity, and just all kinds of people there, and it was really the place to be for VR that night.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's nice to hear about it.
Yeah, exactly.
They had to turn a bunch of people away. There was like a fire code. Maximum of 200 people.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you wouldn't have been able to give everybody who wanted their one demo for 6 minutes if they had 1,000 people there.
Yeah, of course. That as well. With only 3 Vives. In the future, hopefully, there will not be 3 Vives. There will be more than 3.
Yeah.
Maybe someday we'll have VRcades like the size of like a major gym with like, you know how gyms have like their 15 racquetball courts or whatever, and you could just have little rooms set up with Vives in all of them.
And it kind of seems like the whole 15-foot square thing of the Vive is not a hard limitation of the technology. It's just that's what's going to work well with that particular transmitter. But you can kind of chain them, and you can do all kinds of cool stuff to make a much larger space, too.
Yeah. I mean, the only reason the 15-foot thing is really just the size of their demo space at GDC. and that's where that number came from. It's not like Lighthouse only works with a 15-foot radius. It's I don't know what, like I think it starts to lose precision the farther away you get, and I'm not sure what the hard limitation is, but it's certainly not that. And like you say, you can add additional transmitters, and you can scale it up to some pretty large sizes. I expect to see, some paintball warehouse type lighthouse installations in the distant future.
Yeah, and just a comment too. If you have looked at online, there's a trailer out called The Void. It's about having basically a warehouse space where you can run around and have a virtual reality in a 3D environment where you actually have things placed on it through your virtual reality device, kind of like augmented reality, but just using the physical application of the physical space with your hands and your body, as well as being able to see the areas, which is just really mind-blowing when I've seen that. So I look forward to more of that. Amazing.
He got to try the Void. Oh, nice.
Awesome.
I didn't know he had any representatives out there. That is nice to have impressions of that.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, these large VRCade experiences. Yeah, these large VRCade experiences are going to be so awesome because they'll be able to plan everything out and put those real obstacles there to represent things. They'll be able to have environments that are perfectly shaped for the application and have multiplayer experiences, people moving around in the same space together, and there's just so much you can do with that.
I can hear you, Gunter.
I can hear you. That sounds broken. I can hear you, Gunter.
I can hear
Kato,
you.
can you hear anyone else? Okay, alternate
That
dimension.
sounds broken.
Well, Gunter, yeah, I do have to run away here in a second. So.
K-Dog, go back to the main menu and let's wrap this puppy up.
It's like you're not talking to each other. It's like, tell K-Dog I said that.
So,
what's the time for you, Rafe?
1:45 a.m.
Whoa.
Too much.
Well, you and I have that in common. We debate for the sake of debate, and that's a good conversation.
D talks a lot as well. I don't talk quite as much, but that's why I bring smart people here. Cool.
Yay.
Yeah. So, anything else to talk about with the whole Vive thing before we pretty much end the show?
I'd like to go ahead and bring up the conversation, the debate versus the Vive and the Oculus and all the others. I mean, it shouldn't only take us a couple hours to go through it.
Like which one likes best?
Kidding, obviously. That's another show for another time, Gunter.
We'll do that in 6 months. When we know more.
I think we're going to find out in the next few weeks what Oculus is using for input, and then we'll be able to have a meaningful conversation about it. In the meantime, all we know is that they may or may not be competitive on input with the Vive, so let's leave that for another time.
Input is hard.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, thanks everybody. Does anybody have anything they would like to plug or share before I close it? Nate?
Definitely the speed reader. We totally need more experimental input on this. We need people using it and telling us, I read this sample text and I comfortably got up to this speed, and I think D especially understands the things that obviously do need to change, the features that need to come in. It's just a matter of putting them in. But like the dyslexia thing, that came out of left field. You know, the more people who go and grab that and see what its limitations are, the better it can become, because it is very experimental. So that would be my thing, is go and find VR Speed Reader and send some feedback to D or myself.
Excellent. And I'll be doing the same now. I have a gear, so that's a project near to my heart in a few different ways. So glad you're working on that. And how about you, Will?
Yeah, I want to lay down the challenge for someone to beat my high score on Inswell.
There you go. So what's your score? Do you know the exact score?
14,600, I think.
So almost 14,000?
Almost
And
14,000.
yeah, and Will is also known as VR Titties Will, as he is on the scoreboard. He said I could change it. I said, hell no. I love having titties on my scoreboard, so it stays.
I thought there was a game for children, Rev.
No, the Gear VR version is. This is on DK2.
You should definitely change your VRChat name to VR Titties. That's my opinion. How about you, D eVRydayVR?
So I'm going to plug the usual things. My YouTube channel, eVRydayVR, eVRydayVR, VR. And yeah, I'm always happy to have people checking out my videos, checking out my development blog, and I'm also currently looking for VR-related contracts and internships and work in general. So you can look up my VR portfolio website at my real name, dcoetzee.com, which is spelled DCOETZEE.com.
Right on.
Somebody give him... D needs an amazing job, an amazing, like, cool project thing to work on in VR, and he's an incredible person.
Yes, I need the coolest possible thing to work on, because I want to explore lots of cool new experimental and awesome ideas and innovations, and just...
Yeah, I imagine you will have that soon. Yeah, I can't imagine you not being there in the next year.
Whoop.
I know you'll
Sorry, VRChat froze for a bit. All right, go ahead,
you're awesome and that we love you. Reverend, you're sleeping, but in your dream, throw out something that you would like to plug.
VRcasters.com, 24 hours of 24/7 streaming VR podcasts. Will be streaming live from the SVVR Expo. So next Monday and Tuesday. Pay attention to the times when things are happening. We're going to be streaming. We have a table set up there, all that jazz. On top of that, I guess I'll try to pump out at least one more podcast before I leave for the week for SVVR, hopefully, as long as I can get a certain someone and I together at the right time, right channel. We're going to make it happen, I promise.
Oh yeah.
Some
sure.
small guy.
And I'm also going to be at SVVR. I've got my shirt now that I printed that says Everyday VR on it. It has my son logo, so look out for me there if you are going.
Sweet. Yes, and if you're at SVVR, come find all of us, because we like to meet each other in meet space as well.
Yes, I also have long purple hair, so you can also help to find me that way.
And I'm starting to look like a young Jim Morrison. So, well, no, probably an older Jim Morrison. Well, let's see, he died at 27. Okay, a post-death Jim Morrison.
He looked like a zombie after he was dead, though.
True.
So you look like a zombie Jim Morrison, is what you're saying.
That's me, yes.
Badass. Yeah, I look like Cousin It still, so nothing in there. I had something in my mind which was, I guess I'm losing it. What about voting with the Game Jam stuff? There's a whole bunch of stuff about voting. Should everybody go and vote? It is the time, right?
Yeah, vote, but I don't really care. I mean, the community winner is going to be whoever can whore themselves out the most. So,
I see.
Yeah, good luck to all of you.
You are one of the biggest whores I know, so.
But I'm not really going to push it hard. I don't expect to win the community contest, so I want other people who deserve it to win it.
I think it's probably going to be one of the big indie devs. Like it's either going to be Technolust, or maybe Drash's thing, although that was pretty simple. Or maybe Fruxius actually could take it with either of his demos.
I honestly, guys, don't vote for mine. Give your votes to those developers. I don't want to win the Community Choice Award. I'm publicly stating that right now. I don't want you. Play my game. Enjoy my game. Don't vote for it, please.
You're like those threads. Don't upvote this.
Kind of, yeah. So I'm just trying to prove a point. Yes, I'm a whore, but I only want what I deserve, not what I can pull out of people. That didn't sound right. You know what I mean.
Well, that's a good place to end the show. Thank you to my guests. This has really been great. To my guests and my friends.
Thank you for having us.
It's great to know you guys and get to interact, and I'm glad that other people get to meet you as well and hear our conversation. So thanks for that. And of course, always thanks to the virtual audience. So stoked that you guys can hang out with us while we do these chats and hang out with us later and party down. Thank you, Fruxius, for my awesome avatar. So excited about that. And thanks to Kenny and Orthath and Tom and Aaron for helping out making the show possible, recording, updating the sets, and streaming, and all kinds of good stuff. And of course, thanks to VRChat devs, and anybody else that I am forgetting. So reach out to me and let me know what you like about the show, or if you'd like to have a certain person on the show. And join me every week on the set. It's always a good time, 9:30 Eastern on Tuesdays. And just go to guntersuniverse.com to find out all those details. And also watch Reverend Kyle's Sunday stream. Are you doing that this weekend?
Well, I'll be at Maker Faire with probably Dean and several other people.
So you're obviously going to do a show. No show.
Right. I guess I could try to stream something from my phone at Maker Faire. That might be interesting. I
would watch that.
That'd be interesting. I'll see what I can come up with.
Sure. Or maybe just tell us at the meetup, like we'll all be there. So the VRChat meetup, 6 p.m. Eastern on Sundays. That's another great event here in VRChat where lots of us hang out. So join us. And with that said, time for me to break open the Gear VR and play till the break of dawn.
Woo!
Have a good night, folks.
Good night, everybody. See you later.
Good night. We did it. And get out of my chair. Easy to get out of your chair. This is what we do.
They're squishing me.
Yeah. Wacko reality check. Oh, and don't forget to cuss. Fuck, shit, stack. Reverend's a whore. We've already heard that.
I think we met our quota.
Turds. Double turds.
Turds. My hydras are all fucked up right now, so this is what it's like. Y'all want hydras? This is how it's going to be, like this. You're rocking it. I had to push mine to the side after everything was breaking. I'm surprised I didn't just break them.